Okay, the following podcast was such a treat for me. I got to sit down with one of my oldest friends in the world, Yehuda Jacobowitz, who it's too much to say what he's doing. He's a therapist now. He is a trailblazer in the Jewish world. He is a constant seeker. We talk about just so many topics. It was such a pleasure. We talked about Zalman Schachter Shalomi, who's a great spiritual guide to him, and his whole adventure of being Orthodox and no longer Orthodox and finding his way back to an equilibrium in the Jewish world. And it has been such a pleasure to sit down and talk with him. I love talking with him. It felt like a spiritual experience. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Remember to like, follow, subscribe. And I love in the comments. Keep them coming. Don't be too mean. Always put a heart at the end of every mean comment. I think that would be a good move. Anyway, I love you. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Brainstorm podcast. And now, your host, Sony Perlman.
That's it?
We're live.
Start?
That's it.
Three shake, ready?
Show them live.
No, I'm moving the mic already. I'm already moving the mic.
I've never shaked.
How do podcasts officially, like, what is the signal that a podcast has officially started?
I say we're live.
Okay. All
right.
Love it.
So you said, you are a therapist.
Yes.
What's your website? Go.
YehudaJacobowitz.com. Pretty good. YehudaJacobowitz. I think I got that right.
Okay, we will not be talking about it at all for the rest of the time. I'm kidding.
That's what I'm allowed. That's all I'm allowed.
That's your shout out?
I'm throwing it in. I'm kidding.
I'm kidding.
Maybe we should do a therapy set. Like, can I?
You want to therapize me?
You know that Schwartz went on, Dick Schwartz, right? Went on this guy Huberman. I'm not in the whole podcast world, and he gave him a live therapy session.
So I've done things like that.
We could do it different. No, because there's this new therapy. Here, I'm going to give the promo.
What you're
get out of the
doing?
way. It's called present psychotherapy. I would call it IFS adjacent, and I am a big fan of it. And I like what it does. I think there's something there. Anyways, but
that's what you're practicing now.
I mix it up with IFS as well and other modalities. But
so what's it called? Present psychotherapy.
Present psychotherapy was started by this woman, Michelle Lepak. You can look her up. Lepak.
Right. I did look her up. You said
that's right. You did. I meant those people can look her up.
Everybody else can look her up.
Yeah, exactly. But I do like. I got trained in it in June, and I'm a big fan. Yeah. Anyways, whatever. We can get back there. We don't.
Okay, so we will get back there.
Yeah, or we don't. Whatever.
When I'm making this podcast, not this particular podcast, but in general the podcast, I was really coming up with like why the heck I want a podcast. There's a bunch of reasons, and I don't know if I get into all of them, but one of the reasons is that
so you could have me on, obviously.
Yeah, is that I have parts of my life and people in my life that have come in and out of my life or have been in my life at some points and out of my life at other points. And I want to sit down and have conversations with them. Like I had Richard Alterby, my principal.
You tell me, yeah, it's awesome.
On the podcast.
Yeah.
So some people might find it interesting or not, but part of what I believe is like the highest levels of connection, I guess spirituality, is conversations by two connected people. Like that's what I think. So that's like, this could be external consciousness stuff.
I was going to touch on that, but I don't want to.
We'll get there. Okay,
we will? I thought we're not going there.
We could go to external consciousness.
Okay.
That's not a problem.
Right.
Some people will go, God.
By the way, I'm a little ADD, so we're going to go a little, and I'm sure you'll veer me back on, but I'm saying like, I was talking to Daniel Lazarus saying, I'm coming on.
No way.
Yeah, and I was like, sorry.
Another blast.
Sorry for the shout out. And I was saying, we should do like a Farakwe podcast. I think that'd be. I don't know if.
This is kind of a Farakwe podcast.
Yes, yeah. This is the seed. But I'm saying, can you imagine you had like Kiwi and Daniel? We could do all of it. Chayasha, we could do all of it. Like all on. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd actually be cool.
Well, because that's really what I'm saying. So there are a lot of cool things you've done, and interesting. You've been in and out of my life for years, which is.
Like I've been in and out of my own life for years also. Yeah.
Right, that's possible. But you are one of my oldest friends that I'm still friends with.
Yes.
Which is kind of super cool.
I didn't realize that. Did no one else from? Well, I saw at the Shiva. I saw a few. Right, like
everybody comes to Shiva.
Right, but I'm saying it's right.
I'm kidding around.
It's true. That was a great. That was a great.
It was a great show.
It was one of the best. Seriously, like
that's terrible.
I hate to. I know. No, it's a terrible thing to say, but it was one of the best. You guys like held it down. It was amazing. Seriously, it was like
it was quite a reunion.
But it was like enjoyable. It was enjoyable. I mean, whatever. Anyways, okay.
I was feeling differently at the
I'm
time.
sure you were. Too bad. It's not about you. It's not about you.
Everybody was having a very geschmack time.
It was very geschmack. It was really, no, but it was beautiful. It was also beautiful in the sense that you guys have really been involved in the community in different ways, all of you in multiple ways. And I think people really showed up in that way. And going back to like, look, I haven't been involved with you in that way, but certainly our friendship from the past was very meaningful.
It was very cool. We both ended up kind of in the same field at the end of it all,
and totally different routes because you were the bad boy growing up,
right?
And I was the good one.
Could you tell this?
Yes, I've been wanting to tell this. Yes, I've been wanting.
I want to tell you something. I still have.
Yeah.
Okay, so me and Yehuda are good friends. I'm telling the audience, and. We'll talk about that friendship, which is awesome. I still have letters. That you wrote me when I was in Israel. You were in America. Like, remember we used to write letters?
Yeah.
And we were not gay. We were just friends.
Who knows? But whatever. Yes, it's true.
In those days, you could just write a letter to a friend.
Right, a male friend. It was amazing, and it really meant something. No, those are. I think we had. It was the year before you went to Israel. You went to Israel early, right? You went to Neve,
right?
And you were in and out of schools, I guess, at that point or whatever was happening. And then we had that. There was a summer. There was like a kufa of a summer where we just spent that whole summer. I still remember. I don't know if you remember this.
Okay,
you gave me a haircut once, and it came out like all whatever. Whatever this.
You guys gave me the haircut too.
I don't know. I don't remember which way it went. I don't. The things that my brain is not.
Okay.
But.
So this is like for context. I think you're older than me.
No,
we're exactly the same age.
You're older than me. I'm February 79. You're probably 78.
Oh, no, right. We're exactly the same age because we went to Psychedelics together.
Yeah. Where are you? What's yours? Birthday? I mean,
I'm in 78. July 78.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, you're a few months older than me.
So I'm a little older than you, right? I remember. Okay, but we were in Psychedelics together.
Yes.
That means we go back even further.
But that's why that's why I'm talking about having a Farak way. Can you imagine like opening that thing up? That could be fun.
So there's so much context here, and there'll be a lot of fun to do a Farak way.
Yes, not to get lost.
Thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would love to hear your analysis on that community because there's so much interesting stuff.
There's a lot of interesting stuff. I just drove by I was in Farakwa yesterday, actually. And I drove, now the building is on Beach 9th, down the block from your house.
Oh, the building.
Their new Siyachitz building.
Oh,
It's been there for several years.
Right.
But driving by it, I'm like, I can't curse on this podcast, right? Well,
you could if you want.
Right. Well, it's not that important. If it's important, I'll curse. And I was like, holy cow, they have like it's a real building and a real, thing going on here. Unbelievable. Like when we went, I mean, I don't know if you remember the crack pill, the thing that the capsules, we'd step on the crack capsules.
It was on Central
Avenue and 4 or 5 kids in our class. Now they have it's a real thing. I'm like, well, I saw they have I
heard they stopped beating the children.
That's what helps you get donors, by the way. First of all, but I literally, the thought crossed my mind. I saw numerous big garbage pails on the side of the building, and I was like, wow, it looked organized and clean, and I'm like,
real school now.
This is amazing. What happened? What happened to But that was not our growing up was not. It was a different.
That school really. We'll get back to the teenage room, which is really cool. But I almost forgot that we were in Psychedelics together. So that school has a lot of my feelings towards Shayash and Farakwe all wrapped up in it because I felt like most of it was horrible for me. It was really bad, especially because I was a very badly behaved kid. So I was always getting in trouble.
How are you badly behaved? I remember. remember you coming in and out. I remember you not showing up for periods of time. That I do remember.
In Sichitzak?
In Sichitzak.
Oh, okay.
That's like somehow in my memory. I don't know if it's right. We know the memories are not necessarily accurate, so I don't know what that meant. But I do remember, and I imagine it was probably around your parents' divorces. I feel like it's 3rd, 4th grade. Is that
third, 4th grade is when my parents were getting divorced.
Right. So I remember you not I feel like you were I remember you not coming to school for a period of time.
I was trying not to come as much as I could.
Same. By the way, I think we're another thing we share. I managed to skip half of 6th grade, half of 11th and 12th. We'll get in whatever.
Yeah.
Not a.
Well, I was way out by 11.
No, you were way ahead. You were way ahead of every. You've always been way. Look, seriously. I mean, I know it sounds like I'm blowing smoke here, but you were always ahead of the
curve.
Yeah.
So I mean, in terms of in Sichitzak, like making trouble was like sitting on the Rebbe's seat and like calling out and having no attention span and like
anything. What do you mean?
I don't remember what I was doing. I got smacked a lot.
Yeah,
there was a lot of smacking.
I don't remember the smacking, but
I'm telling you, for some reason they were trying to get me.
You got smacked at home?
No,
neither parent.
No. I mean, unless I really pissed them off.
Talk about being ahead of the curve, I see.
Yeah, it wasn't really any smacking at home going on. On a big level, I have one funny story. My father was trying to smack us, and then I'll say it. What happened was we had to. This actually explains like Gen X
of your
childhood.
Okay.
Like this is like so we were all taking a bath together, like. The boys in my family, we had the boys, and you guys had that too. But I'm saying we had the boys, and we're taking a bath. I must have been my father was still there, so I must have been like 6 or 7.
What do you 4 boys and 4 girls? Is that the split?
No, 5 boys, 3 girls.
Who am I?
And then a new girl.
Oh, Ellie, I'm missing. Right.
My dad has another kid. Also.
I didn't know that.
Perry. Shout out Perry. So, We're young. We're all naked in the bath together. I don't think we do this anymore.
No.
And
that would be
we discovered that if you pour all the bath water on the floor and then you add soap, it's the greatest slip and slide you've ever experienced. And we were having a blast, right? And we didn't really think about the fact that all that water was going into the kitchen downstairs, whatever was underneath.
Nice.
So all of a sudden we hear like this booming, my father slamming the door, boom, 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 and we got like terrified, like, oh, so we did something wrong. Half the times we did something wrong, we were like, why is this wrong? We didn't,
of course, your kids.
And then my father burst in the door. And he like swung at me to like to give me a potch. So I guess maybe there's a once in a while potch, and I ducked, and he was on the slip and slide. So he did a full 360 and landed on his tush. He's wearing like his Rebbe outfit, So he did like a full like collapse on his tush. And I just took off, like naked. Like, I don't know if I left the house or not. Like, I was running away. I was terrified for my life.
Were you scared of him? Was he
laughing and terrified at the exact same time?
But was he like a scary figure? I didn't know your father so much growing up. I mean, I knew your mother more.
He was a big dude.
And he would get mad. He would get.
I mean, he's my size now.
Right.
But I guess I'm big for a 7-year-old. But there was not a lot of smacks, and some of them it was mostly in school. So I had a couple of band that were. You
want to name them? I'm
trying to remember. Yeah, I'd love to.
You want me to name them?
No, I don't have any.
I'll name them.
We'll name them. It wasn't working out there.
You had Chaim Barish as a member, like that was pre-K. Like we had the robot. Do you remember this? Were you in? There's some memories that stick out. We had a robot, crazy in the bottom of Shayashiv, which was across the street right at the time. That's where the kindergarten was.
We had a robot?
Yeah, he actually had believe it or not, he actually had this robot running around. It was crazy, like unbelievable when you think back. Like,
what does that mean, a robot?
This robot that would like literally walk around. It was battery operated and would kind of like walk around the room. It was like very exciting. For
he was in our class.
No, Chaim Barish was the Rebbe. Him and Feldheim, Mrs. Feldheim.
This is
like kindergarten.
It's possible I went to tag.
Right. Right. It's right. Or Blaustein, Mrs. Blaustein. Anyway, not to give a whole history of
I don't know.
Interesting.
Anyway,
yeah, because so you don't know what year you came to Psychedelics? You don't know what year?
No, I was there right away. I guess it was
Right.
P1A.
Right.
Maybe it wasn't nursery.
Right.
Could be
So
I
maybe
didn't
you
go
were
to
there.
school.
Right. It could be you were there. Anyways, whatever. I don't remember who was
But
in
my
there.
feeling towards it was
Yeah.
there was a lot. The best way I could describe what I felt in the community of like Shayashuv and Far Rockaway, what the best way I could describe it is a cult. That sounds terrible. But
it was a cult. It lost all its cultish,
Yeah,
qualities,
no,
which is a shame. I mean, some people will say that about, and I'm not trying to be, provocative here, but I'm saying if you hear people talk about Orthodox Judaism in general, people will sometimes describe it as a cult. I don't, but certainly I've heard that many times. Orthodox
Right.
Judaism, Chabad, right? Think about Chabad. I mean,
Yeah, well-
there's cult-like aspects to it. I don't think there's any question about that. I don't know that I'd call it.
You
a
never
cult.
heard Joe Rogan's
I'm not a podcaster.
not
I'm on here
podcasting.
now.
Joe Rogan's
Tell me,
one
tell
of
me.
his stand-ups.
Yeah.
I'll
Oh.
say this. We got canceled for this one.
Yes.
But
this is, by the way, this
it's
would be
Joe
awesome if this show got you canceled.
Nah.
I would love it.
No.
Not because I have anything, because I just that's sort of where I come
It
from.
would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It would be amazing.
I'm trying to get canceled, but I'm not that important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have
You
enough.
wish you were on the level.
Exactly. Seriously. But I say that seriously, by the way, half serious, meaning it's true. You have to be on a certain level to get canceled.
That's true.
It's not so easy.
So Joe Rogan says that a cult is a surrounded around it's a living in a community surrounded around one individual where he decides how you live your life, what the rules are, what you eat, how you sleep, how you think, and a religion, that guy's dead.
And say that again? A religion?
He's saying the difference between a cult and a religion.
Right.
He says that's a cult.
Nice.
A religion, that guy's dead.
Nice. Good one.
That's a pretty. It's Joe Rogan. I don't do it.
No, that's pretty good.
Anyway,
I like that. Yeah,
so
it's pretty accurate.
We grew up in a community where I feel like the reasons we were all following one person, and it was a very tight knit community, and it was there was some very interesting rules. I mean, I wasn't a typical cult, but there was so much goodness.
Yeah.
This is where the tricky part is.
I want to take my shoes off.
Go for it.
Yeah.
The tricky part of cults is that when people leave, they also miss all the awesomeness, the togetherness, the fact that we all identify with each other. We're all like the singing in Shayashuv was next level.
And I think Reb Shlomo Freifeld had a unique power, ability, whatever you want to call it. He had unique powers in that sense, right? Meaning he tapped into certain things that most Orthodox communities, I would say, did not and can't.
Right.
And somehow he's able, the singing, the communal aspect of it, and it came at a cost, right? Where I think there was a certain level of cultiness where we know that people, when he passed away, had nervous right? Like there was reports of nervous breakdowns and all kinds of things.
Yeah, there was a lot of divorces afterwards.
A lot of divorces.
It was
exactly,
but we all remember,
because you know that he, without sharing too much, like he definitely, I know this firsthand, that he I wouldn't say forced couples to stay together, but he certainly pressured couples to stay together. And not totally. He had them go to therapy. It wasn't like it was totally just whatever. It wasn't total Hefgewalt, but it was definitely
right.
There were things there.
Listen, everything you could say was done with a lot of good intentions, but the followers. So there's a part of me, and this is interesting. This is a part of this podcast also, is that I don't feel understood by anybody in the world besides for people from Far Rockaway.
That's so, yes, I get it.
Do you experience a similar experience?
Yes.
So even though I am meeting people and we're having great conversations, so a little bit is I want people to know me, like I want to connect. That's a little bit of a reason of the podcast, is that I feel separate then. And when I sit down with someone from Far Rockaway, especially good friends, even if we have nothing to do with each other in 30 years or longer, it's like immediate, like there's like a zoning in, I get it. You know, like there's a I get it that you don't
100%.
get. And I see that from people who grew up in cults.
Right.
And it's very confusing because you never you kind of always still hang on to the belief that the real truth is that.
Right.
And then that haunts you. And listen, I think everybody on some level can relate to this because it wasn't an actual cult. We weren't told to eat certain things and
Sleep deprivation. And
it didn't have all that stuff.
Right.
But it felt like that because when I think about Psychedelics, I remember some of the delicious stuff. I remember, was it
Chaya Bracha, you're talking about.
who was our kindergarten teacher? Do you remember?
That's what I was saying. It was. I think
Mrs.
it was.
Stein? No.
I thought I had Chaim Barish and Mrs. Feldheim. That's what I was saying.
So I might have, but I think what I remember having Rebbetzin Yeager, Mrs. Yeager.
That's a bit.
Is
wow,
it possible?
interesting.
Is that pre-1A?
It's possible. No, that's possible.
And she was wonderful.
Yeah.
And I remember there were people there that like were really delicious to me. And then there were people smacking me all the time.
Yeah.
So it was like really hard to like kind of figure out, do I love this? Do I hate this? Which I think is how you feel after a cult. You know, like what exactly was it? Because we felt like we were part of something. Also, I was completely traumatized about my payas.
Oh my
Super
god!
traumatized.
Oh, can I tell a story?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
All right. Let's hear
Payas
the story.
story. I fucking hated the Payas. Excuse my
Okay.
language.
Yeah.
Audience.
Okay.
Hated it. You're welcome to delete that one out. Hated them.
That was
and I want
inappropriate,
to. And I want to talk. Actually, I think it relates. I don't want to veer too much off topic, but I think it does relate. A lot of these conversations that I find that people are having about Israel and Palestine and this whole thing that's going on, and not to get it, and we're not going to get into it, but it is
We can get into it.
we can, but that's not even what I'm. But I think the question is like, what's going on in people's unconscious as it relates. I don't know if you believe in a personal unconscious, but let's say we do. If what is going on in people's personal unconscious as it relates to their Jewish identity and Judaism, and I hated my payas, and I believe one of the reasons why I hated my payas, I hated being so Jewy at that, right, the shaved head. I always felt like we got the shortest haircuts, and I attribute a lot of that over the years, as I've done inner work, whatever you want to call it, to the Holocaust, to Jews being weak, right, the sense of weakness, and being very embarrassed in my Judaism. That's part of it, right? There's a part of me that's what that was. And so in about third or fourth grade, I started whenever I'd get, first of all, I'd hide the haircut. First, I'd hide the haircut, right? We'd get a haircut at home, I would hide the machines. So I didn't have to get the haircut. Whenever I got a haircut, I was sick for a week. I didn't show up to school. One time I hid it. My father ran out right before Shabbos to go buy one from Burlington or whatever, that store. Came back, I went and I cut the wire. That's how much I hated it.
Wow.
As if thinking that he wouldn't know it. What I would do with my payas is I would take a scissors and cut them. So obviously I was a kid, so I'd have like splotches here. So my mother, to make it look half normal, would cut around it, but then she'd have my yarmulke she would tilt my yarmulke and put bobby pins and tilt it over the patches. So I literally walked around with like a little tilt in my head. I probably still do, whatever, but and that's not so surprising, and it probably makes a lot of sense of how I ended up. But then I have a story that a Rebbe from Yitzchak took us to. We used to have these sleepovers. So I think it was fourth grade. Rabbi Seid took us to the Skalena Rebbe, and I'm at the Skalena Rebbe. It's a small tish. It's a Friday night, and all of a sudden I see the Rebbe, and there's a commotion going on, and it looks like he's like pointing at me. But I'm like, there's no way that he's referring to me. So I just kind of duck, I'm like. And all of a sudden, all the Hasidim start looking at me, and they're paying attention. I'm like, okay. And what does he do? He's going, Who's dein Kappel? Where's his yarmulke? He couldn't see it because it was covering up one of the bald spots. And whatever. And then the Hasidim, Who's dein Kappel? It's Kappel. Don't worry, Debbie, everything's okay. But that's to the extent, yes, so you said earlier, right? People can't relate, right, in a certain way. Yeah. Oh my God.
Skalena Rebbe was yelling, "Where's your
Who's that
yarmulke?"
couple? Yeah. He had it was a very small tish, but he saw.
Okay.
Yeah. I know, right? This is my famous story with this.
That's
Skalena Rebbe.
odd.
The whole thing was odd. Talk about trauma. I'm saying, but the payas were traumatic. The payas, I hated the payas.
Well, my story with the payas is that I spent years begging my mother to let me go to the barber because I didn't like the haircut at home.
Right.
But I
Who
hated
did
the
it? Your
payas.
mom or your father?
My mom.
Yeah.
And she got the place where she would pay us. She would give us like $1 to do a haircut because we hated it so much.
Right.
I went into the barber. I don't know what grade this was, but she finally gave me $6. I walked to the barber. Remember the barber was $6, and then you have the comic books, the $1 comic. You don't remember this because
I didn't go to the barber.
You weren't allowed to go to the barber.
Exactly.
I think $6 was $5 plus $1 tip. Like
Makes
I think.
sense.
So going to the barber, I go to the barber myself. And I walk in and they say, "Okay, what do you want to do?" And I had like my pious and like bald head, but I grew back. I guess is the point. And I said,
"You had a chip."
Yeah, probably a little chip at the time. And I said, I don't care what you do, just as long as these are not here at the end of it.
Exactly.
And he's like, "Bloop, bloop."
He was probably happy to do it. Oh
He was
my
like,
God.
sure,
Can you
he's an Italian
imagine?
guy. He's like,
Right.
"Bloop."
What a privilege. What a privilege.
He didn't even think about
No,
it.
he had no idea.
And there went my payas.
And how did you, like, did you feel freer? Like, did it feel
It was the
good?
greatest moment of my life.
Greatest moment.
It was the
Yeah.
greatest moment. And I'm sure I got into huge trouble. I don't remember.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I got in trouble a lot. So it was like, I was pretty used to it.
Right. Right. You're good at it. You were good at it.
I was good at being in trouble.
Yeah.
Like it was not. It was hard to raise me. I got to give my mother credit for that one. But anyway, Psychedelics has that moment, and then the truth is, I don't think we were so close in Psychedelics as far as I remember. You even told me once that I bullied you, and I've remembered it till today.
Oh my God! At the Shiva, that's what part of what made the Shiva great. Again, was you brought it up in the Shiva, but yes, you did.
Sonny Perlman, the lover of
Sonny-
everybody,
Sonny
was a
Perlman.
bully.
He was. Guys, this is true. Just know that he has other sides. I know you will love him and everything, and he's done all his good, but underneath it, look a little closer.
Okay.
This is in 4th grade, so we can, or whatever, around that 3rd grade. I don't even know what grade it was, but yes, we had moments. Well, I think honestly, the way that I see it was in real life, you were going through a lot. Your parents were getting divorced. You were the first in the community. My parents eventually divorced later, but I had no idea. Obviously, I didn't know what it meant. But clearly, that was that's a huge thing. Look, I don't think there's any I think we all know that.
I was definitely very, very angry at the time.
you can
So
only
it
imagine.
makes some sense.
No, my parents got divorced 10 years later and was still one of the first in the community. And the level of shame and embarrassment for something that had nothing to do with me. But of course, as you probably know, we blame ourselves, right? It's, there's that inner critic part that goes, it's your fault and all that stuff. I mean, I can only imagine, like, for you.
I didn't blame myself at all.
Right. Interesting.
I don't remember ever blaming myself.
Right. Interesting.
I didn't have that, which is probably like props to my parents.
Right.
But
were they very communicative? I mean, I could see your mother, right?
Not at all.
Around the divorce? No. So that's interesting.
No.
Interesting that you somehow managed, yeah.
it just was, and
But I'm assuming there was an amount of...
the weird thing that I discovered later, which I thought was normal at the time, because you always think everything's normal,
Right.
is that I wasn't really allowed to mourn the divorce because the message was the marriage is so bad that I did this to save you guys.
Right.
So it was like, you're so lucky
Yeah.
that you're in this divorce situation. So that was
Which
the
could
feeling.
be true, but it doesn't exclude the truth that it's hard on children, especially in your position. Like I'm saying, they're not mutually exclusive, right?
Right.
And
so I don't think as a kid I ever got to be sad about the divorce.
Yeah.
Like the whole time. There was a lot of anger. I remember one time someone said something, I guess someone much larger than me said something to me in the pool, and I proceeded to like very badly beat the guy up, even though he was just shocked the whole time. He's like, what is this little monster doing to me? He was just
But
like,
you were like that. I do remember. I remember you. You were like a tough kid. You were no joke.
I was very violent.
I feel like I remember you like doing things like that, where you took on things bigger than you, and yeah.
Well, at the time, the only person who could go toe to toe with me was Naftali Tzvi Halper. He was a big guy at the time.
But he wasn't a fighter.
No, he was like a gentle soul. But if he had to,
gentle. For sure.
If he had to, he could take me.
I'm sure he's very strong. But you were like, you had that.
I also went up against people that were way bigger than me. I had like this craziness when I was in when I was in 7th grade, I got like furious about bullying. Like
did?
that people got bullied.
Oh,
I never believed that I was a bully.
That was a little late for that.
No, but I was like, I was watching people get bullied.
Yeah.
It was because I switched schools. I switched schools in 4th grade, and then like people started up with me, but it was hilarious to go to Darchei Torah from Psychedelics, and then someone starts up with you, and you're like, this is jailhouse rules. I'm coming from Psychedelics. We're Wilde Chayes.
You have no idea.
You guys are cute little people
Exactly.
with normal parents.
Corporate versus like street. Like,
so they stopped pretty quickly bullying me. But
how was Darchei?
So Darchei was
how was the
interesting.
experience? It was good. Am I close?
Let me
enough
tell you
to
the anti-bullying story, because he got me on.
Yeah.
So
I got you. I don't think I got you on anything. I think you.
This is where we're in nostalgia zone.
Yeah.
So I decided I was an anti-bully.
Yeah.
So
in 7th grade,
I put it out the word that if anybody is getting bullied, they could come to me and I'll beat up the bully. And it happened a ton of times. Yeah, so I felt myself like I was a vigilante, like the comic books, like,
nice.
And then I'd go and like during recess and be like, "You're not allowed to bully that guy," and get into all these fights with these bullies, which was, so I was that's why I thought I was really anti-bully.
But how was Darchei in general as an experience? Was it like you remember it being decent, good? How was
I think I was already done school by the time I landed there.
Sense.
So I got there 4th grade.
Right.
They held me back. It wasn't good.
And your mother was kind of didn't care that much about school, I'm assuming.
She did not like school.
Right.
And she was in school so much they thought that to bail me out of stuff that my friends thought she worked there.
Right.
So it was like
Makes
it was
sense.
a wacky experience.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I didn't end up going. I didn't go to a lot of school. And then in high school, I didn't go to a lot of school. But anyway, then we got close. We didn't get anywhere yet. We got close.
It's perfect. It was great. Yeah. Where are we going? Where are we getting to?
I was probably like 15 or something.
15, 16. Yeah. Right before you went to Neve. When did you go to Neve? 16?
I went to Israel.
Not to Israel. You went to Chaim Schwartz.
First I went to Chaim Schwartz.
Right. I'm saying what year was that? That was 15, 16?
16. I turned 16.
So it was a summer. It was that summer. It was that year and that summer.
That year and
that
summer.
Sorry, because I thought about this as I told you, the brain whirls before I ran into Noah Ross's brother recently.
Way.
Right? Is that crazy? And apparently he's like totally like normal human being. Like I'm saying he was the most out there of all of us. I'm saying, right? And
Noah's the one who's more normal, you saying?
Yeah. That's what his brother said. He's
Noah
like,
set me up with my wife, kind of.
Did he? In Israel?
The first time I ever spoke to my wife, it was at Noah's house.
Ah, there you go.
Because he would like I'd go to his house, hang out with him, and then he would just ignore me for an hour, talking on the phone. So I just at one point I was like, what am I doing here? I just took the phone and just started talking to the person on the other end.
Yeah.
Because like she's ignoring me, and it was my wife.
Wow.
So I had a conversation with her a year before I met her.
That's a great story.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's a really good story.
I give Noah the credit. Yes, it's wild to meet the people that we knew as kids, and all of a sudden they're.
I didn't run into him. I ran to his brother, and his brother was in Cedarhurst,
right.
And who's now his older brother. I don't even remember. I don't think we didn't know much was going on there. And I just we just randomly he was by he was around the corner from my sister and a schmooze, and it turned out he was Noah's brother. I'm like, wow, how's he doing? What's he up to? And he's like, yeah, he's totally
got the info.
He runs. He's like a runner. He's a marathon runner. Like all this. I was like, oh my god,
he's one of the most talented artists I've ever met.
Was he? Yeah,
such a fantastic.
Really,
what a talented guy.
Yeah.
So we got close, but it was weird because at that point I was the troubled youth, and you were like doing. Like acting like you were very yeshiva from like
but I really wanted to talk to all the girls, and where else could you talk to the girls in your house? But I couldn't talk to the girls because I was too scared, inwardly, whatever. But that was it was my access point to like some world that I had no access to. Plus, I think we just had a lot of fun. We were just it was just enjoyable. But it was interesting. I agree with you. There was this dynamic at that point where I was the good yeshiva bacher doing kiruv almost, right? As if, and you were doing reverse kiruv, maybe. And I could blame you for everything that's happened.
I don't remember.
That's when the seeds were planted for all my heresy.
I was playing the long game.
Exactly. You're much smarter than you come across, Donnie. I'm calling you Donnie. Yeah.
I was planting seeds that
Yes.
you'd eventually end up in who knows what kind of crazy opera courses.
Exactly. Brilliant. See, there's a brilliance here, guys.
There's a
This is another
brilliance.
thing you don't know about Zani. You know, you think he's just this nice, good dude. He's actually like a master social engineer who
There you go.
I'm living proof. Anyways, yeah.
This is all not true. This is all not true.
Our goal, coming on together, was to get Sony canceled. So if this is achieving that goal, it is true. Anyways,
It's nice.
yeah, sorry.
Well, so far,
Sorry.
yeah. But then we lost track for a long time.
We did
and
lose
then-
track for a long time.
And then you open. There was so many things that I wanted to talk to you about
Yeah. Today, you're saying, or over the years?
over the years. 'Cause
Really?
We never. I literally didn't see you like in 15 years, and then you were in my pool.
Well, you had built
20 years.
the whole world, really, right? Like I mean, I only heard Chaim Glantz's name. I think I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah.
Afterwards, but my whole impression always was that our place is right. Sani's our place is Sani. Like that's what I heard for years.
Right.
And anytime it got mentioned, I'd say, "Oh, I know." Like I would name drop hard.
Name drop
yeah.
hard.
Oh yeah. I
Okay.
was totally name drop. I still name drop, but I'm saying.
That's
I just
awesome.
snorted. Unbelievable. That's how funny this is. But I heard. I definitely knew the work on it, but I don't think we lived very different lives. I had gone to, I had spent 3 years in Israel. So I'd done the traditional route, so to speak. I didn't go to Israel early. I didn't get to go to Chaim Schwartz and Neve, which I dreamed of going to, but of course ended up in the
That's
second
right.
tier.
I think you came on my last year out.
Not your last year, last couple of months. You were literally leaving. I was so excited. I was like, oh, we're finally going to hang out again. And of course, Sani then is on his next adventure. You were already, I think, dating Yaeli at that point. You were definitely
That's
spending
right.
time. We had one night in a place called the Fuzzy Navel. I don't know if you remember. I told you about this. It was
Tell
like
me.
I think it was your goodbye party. You were leaving
In Israel?
In Israel, there was
Okay.
this place called the Fuzzy Navel. This is the 96, I think, 96, 97.
It's got to be 97, yeah.
And Shmuel Skates was playing there that night. So we went to go watch Shmuel Skates. It was technically your goodbye party. You and Yaeli were there, and me and probably a few others. But I think it was mostly just us. And we bought, I don't remember how it happened. I think you were drinking too. I don't remember. But like the cheapest bottle of rum was probably like, $3, like a full bottle. And we drank, and I could still remember that hangover. I could still remember that, yeah. And believe me, I've been hungover over the years.
Oh,
I'm not a
wow.
big drinker, but yeah, I still, see?
For good reason, I probably don't remember
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
The Fuzzy Navel
yeah,
in Jerusalem?
Fuzzy Navel is like this little hole in the wall right by the Kent shop where they sold all the cigarettes, right by Ben Yehuda.
Right.
Yeah, there was like this little hole in the wall right there called the Fuzzy Navel.
And he was playing as the Madre Goat.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's awesome. This ad is for the women listening to this podcast. This company is called Wig Guru. It's wig-guru.com. They have the most innovative ways to deal with one of the worst issues of wigs, which is slipping back and it looking not in place. Women have a big issue with not noticing when everybody could tell that it's a wig because it's slipping back. The amount of innovative products that Wig Guru have is phenomenal. They are customer based. Many, many customers are reaching out and saying, could you make this product in this different way? And, I like this part, but I don't like this part. There are many, many different types of wig grips, including the trademarked and copyright pending Grip-A-Fix, original Grip-A-Fix, and as well as her wig glue, which is water soluble and is taking the internet by storm. So go over there, put in the code Brainstorm, and you will get 10% off. It is wig-guru.com. Okay, we're back.
Great hat, right? I'm not a hat person, but I bought it just for whatever reason, and I've gotten so many compliments on this hat. Actually, like I'm yeah. Anyways, I'll leave it at that.
It's a lot. I just think you're going back to your black hat roots. That's what it looks like to
The
me.
reverse black hat.
The reverse.
Yeah.
I like the feather. Show
Right?
the camera your feather.
Feather, yeah.
Wow.
But it's also the two-tone. You see the two-tone? That's what I think people like. That's what people have noticed, like the two-tone.
It's a very chash of a hat.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say
you know,
it's a chash of
or
a
a
hat.
chash of a person. You know how it
Chash
goes.
of a person. So then, okay,
So that's the end of Israel. I spent 2 more years in Israel after that. I spent 2 years in Israel.
and you went to regular yeshiva places.
I was in a place called Torres Chaim, which was only open for a year and then closed down. This guy, Rabbi Reich, who was a total wild card and
Right.
really
Were
awesome.
you there with Ellie?
Yeah. Ellie and I were chavrusas.
Oh
Sure.
my God,
Yeah,
my brother
yeah.
Ellie. Wow.
Ellie and I, that's how Ellie and I bonded. We were like really bonded.
Oh,
there.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I remember. It was,
I forgot that Ellie was a good point. Yeah. And then I went to Lev Aryeh, where Ellie was before, the next year, because the place, Torres Chaim, officially closed down.
right.
Then I had an issue with I had a whole power struggle with the Rosh Hashiva of Lev Aryeh, which I
Okay.
won, of course.
How'd you win? You left?
We agreed at the end of the year that it's best that I don't return for the 3rd year. That was how it landed. But there was a whole thing going on in yeshiva, and I stood up to this guy who was quite intimidating, actually, and stood up to him because he was being intimidating for no good reason, just because that was his way, and I had somehow found some inner strength to say no, and he didn't like it. He didn't show up to yeshiva for like 3 weeks after there was this kind of it's
Really?
mostly it's mostly. I mean, I could tell the story if you want.
It
but,
sounds like you're very proud of it in a certain
I'm
sense.
proud because I am proud of it. He was really inappropriate. Not in those, meaning he was creating all kinds of crazy dynamics with these power, and he was trying to like basically intimidate us as kids, and he literally threatened to throw me out and all kinds of stuff, and he couldn't because I was like one of the better learners in this very small place, so he didn't have a. I was proud of it that I somehow found, I like against all odds, like I managed to stand up to him actually
Right.
and say no, and he really didn't like that. But it was a good moment. I think it was a good moment. Yeah. Unfortunately, sometimes people are in positions of power and don't belong there. And anyways, not to
All right,
not
so now
to
let me
not to get
ask
lost.
you, straight, at some point you got very involved with Zalman Sheffer.
Well, I'm going to get there. Let me get.
there.
I'll speed it, but we'll
Speed
get
it
there.
up,
So
bro.
yeah, well, we have all the time in the world. Where are we going? So, so 3rd year I end up in the mirror, but it's like a shtick that I end up in the mirror because I didn't really want to go there, and I actually went to the faher. I think this is a good story too. I'll speed them up. I show up to the faher without my black hat. Probably the only person in the history of interviewing at the mirror, faharing at the mirror. Why I did it, who knows? I had this shtick in my head. I don't really want to learn at the mirror, but I want to eat their food, and I didn't want to feel like I was stealing their food. You can easily go in there and just eat their food. No one's going to say boo. It's a huge dining hall. You just walk in. So that's what I said. So I went to the faher. I didn't get accepted because I didn't come with a hat. My cousins were very close to Nassim Tzvi Finkel at the time. I got a second faher, borrowed someone's hat. I actually did not have a black hat at the time, which is its own thing. And I get in, I go to the mirror I'm there for my 3rd year in Israel. This is 99, 2000. And that's when I sort of start going on my own path, exiting, or actually in Israel is when I stopped. I remember, for the first time I took off my tzitzis, for the first time I did things like that. And then I came back to New York. I was around 20 at this time in 2000, and I basically had left. I use a different term today. I don't think of it as left. I think of it as trailblazing or doing, going on my own way. But at that point, I had left. In my mind, I was leaving. That's what I was doing. It happened very kind of unconsciously. It wasn't like this, I wasn't this rowdy. A lot of times people will leave in high school or whatever, things like that. It's much more of a show or whatever. It wasn't a show. Slowly things just unwound, and I was like, I don't want to be part of this anymore. I continued to live in Far Rockaway for
This is in your 20s.
This started when I was 20, and I was still in Far Rockaway till about 24. Eventually, I moved to the city when I was 24 to the Upper West Side. And on the Upper West Side, I was like, I'm done with this whole Jewish stuff. I don't want anything to do with this. This is nonsense.
It's just a bad place to leave if you want. It's a place to live if you want to run away from all the Jewish stuff.
So to your point, after a couple of years there, I was in therapy, and my therapist kept on pointing out. He's like, you keep on saying like you're done with all this Jewish stuff, but everything, you're on the Upper West Side, all your friends are Jewish, all the parties you go to are Jewish. Like, what's going on here? Like, what is, he like confronted me. And I was like, you know what? I think you have a point. And so I randomly chanced upon this. There was a yard site happening for Shlomo Kalbach by these people. I don't know if you know them, Yoni and Pesach Stadlin. They started a camp called Eden Village Camp, which is like a Jewish hippie camp. I know who was ranking on hippies.
For adults?
For kids.
Oh,
They
okay.
have it up here in Putnam Valley. So anyways,
I was ranking on hippies.
Yeah, right? It was you or someone else?
No, or before the podcast, I was telling you.
Oh,
how-
Yossi, right? As I was saying,
I was
right,
messing with
right.
Yossi.
So if you want to if you wanted an opportunity to you can make fun of them.
Well, I'll wait for my opportunity.
They're these two very magical people. Actually, they're both like 6'5" twins, and very prolific people. Pesach's the rabbi in Israel now, and does his own stuff. He's written some books, and his brothers. And so they start this camp, but I end up. I used to play basketball on 105th Street. I don't know if you remember. I was a pretty good basketball player. By the
Yes,
way.
you were. You were very proud of
I want
it.
some acknowledgement. Yes. That's a whole different parsha, which we could get into.
I don't know if I've ever seen you play basketball, but I
You
knew
had a
you were
court
very.
in your backyard. You were too busy talking to the girls and rollerblading around.
I didn't care about the
No, you could.
basketball.
I know. I wish I had learned early what was important.
You're like basketball.
Exactly. It's really strong,
you
right?
nowhere.
Coming back to this. No, but I think it did. Some of it did come. But it was
No,
great.
it did.
It was a great outlet for me, and also quite complicated. It's something that actually is worth the conversation. Maybe not this time, but it's worth it because I know a lot of kids are into sports, and it's actually an important topic. But putting that aside for a
Being
second,
pro?
no, just what it means and how it's utilized. Like I utilize it as an escape in a lot of ways, but eventually, as we know with all escapes, eventually they if that becomes our way, it's a maladjustment in a certain way, whatever you want to call it, right? If the focal point becomes the only way that I see my identity is through as a basketball player and what that means and how important that is, right? So it's great. It's great to have that outlet because it probably saved my life in certain ways, right? But also later on, there's you start realizing, oh wow, did I really even like basketball, right? Or was it just a means to like doing these things? Anyways, whatever. It's a separate topic. But I was going to play basketball. I see this hippie looking Jew. I say, hey, you a hippie? Yeah. Are you a Jew? Yeah. He says, we're having a thing for Shlomo Carlebach tonight. Why don't you come by? And I hadn't been to an official Jewish thing in a while at this point. I said, okay, if I remember, I went to play basketball. I went back to my apartment. I remember where it is somehow. I show up. It's actually where I met my wife, who turned out to be my future ex-wife, but I met her that night.
Right.
And I had a really amazing time. I was like, wow, I missed this. Like I missed this. What you were talking about before, like part of what we were given in Shayashiv was this love, this deep appreciation for ruach, what you call, right, the spirit of what goes on, and they had it there. They had it, and it was so beautiful. I was like, wow, I missed this. I felt it, like I felt like I missed it. So I said, like, do you ever do this any other time? They said, yeah, every other week there's this thing that goes on. It's called Romamu. It's a Friday night gathering that happens every other Friday night. It's actually happening this Friday night. One you come through. Like, okay, I'll check it out. So I went. Before I went, I circled the block like 3 times before I walked in.
Really?
Yeah, of course. I was like, what am I doing here? Like, why am I even going to this? Yeah, for sure. And I could tell a crazy story of like what happened, like why I ended up coming back there, if you want. It's a little bit of a mix of 3 different stories actually that came together. Tell
the story.
But I'll tell the first part of this is that I walk in and there's a guest female cantor. Now keep in mind, I've only been to Orthodox.
1 second. Don't stop.
Yeah.
I'm just getting a sweatshirt.
Okay, should I continue?
No. Yeah, 1 second. Okay.
This could be like a gestalt. This is good actually. I can just talk to the chair.
Oh, good.
But,
Good, that's true.
might be easier.
Wait, so you get the female.
So there's a guest female cantor. Her name is Aviva Chernik, actually, and this is in 2007. I walk in and they're singing the most beautiful nigunim on a Friday night. And again, so keep in mind, I've only been to an Orthodox shul at this point. I've never been to a non-Orthodox shul. I've never been to a non-Orthodox service. I walk in and I'm like, what? Holy shit. That was an intentional one. Wow. It was mind-blowing. It was really mind-blowing. And it was like,
with mics?
Yes.
Okay.
Electricity is approved.
Yeah.
There's a whole...
No, I'm not going into. I'm just wondering the
yes.
level of wow.
Yeah. It wasn't it was held at that point in a community center in a gym. There was probably, I want to say somewhere between, let's say 50 to 75 people. It was small. There was a person by the name of David Ingber who was running it, who still runs it. It's called Romamu. And he does a really beautiful Friday night thing if anyone is ever interested. It's not Orthodox, so get prepared for yourself if that's right. But if that's your thing, but if not, it's really, really beautiful what he does. And it just hit. Now, I don't know that I ever would have come back and this is the story. So this is a little talking about myself, which I don't always love doing, but I will. I've been doing Tai Chi and Qigong down on 10th Street at this point in my life. And one day I come out of the subway and I see what catches my eye, this really beautiful woman. And she's next to this other guy who's got like a funky beard and looks like similar ages. And he's walking with a cane. And they're with what I thought was their parents or maybe their boyfriend, girlfriend. I didn't know. But as is my nature, I walk over to the guy and I say, hey, like I do Tai Chi Qigong here. The guy had really bad knees and legs. I see you're a young guy and it looks like you're struggling with leg problems. If you ever want, here's the information. Come on through. What's your name? It turns out his name is Zacharia. Okay?
Right.
Story number one. Story number two is I was doing a lot of acupuncture up in Tarrytown as part of healing work, not physical. I had come to the conclusion that a lot of my trauma was in my body, as we now know, right? Body keeps score, whatever. But this is going back 2006. I was like, I feel frozen. Like I feel like my body's frozen. I want to work on it. So I was going to this woman. Her name's Irene Grant. She is an infectious disease doctor, but also a board certified acupuncturist. And she was doing these special treatments called dragon treatment. She'd give me like I'd be there for like 2.5 hours. I'd go like once a week on like a Friday. I'd take the train to Tarrytown. Eventually she says, I think you need to meet this shaman. His name's Hawk's brother. He's up in New Paltz. So I go to meet him and he's like, I think the life that you're living is a ball and chain. Sell out whatever you're doing, bring the money and come up here. And you're going to be part of my crew. I have a crew right now that I meet with. There's a group of Jews who I teach them shamanism and they teach me Hasidus. One is this guy, Oren. He's a bread baker and he mentions this guy and that guy. Okay, I decide this is too much for me. It's not, was it part of a cult? I don't think I need another one. Yeah. Following? Am I good? Yeah. Okay. Story number two. Story number three is I end up at this Romu thing and so I go, they have this beautiful Friday night service. I'm floored, I'm wowed. I'm like, holy cow, this really, and afterwards they have a potluck meal as hippies tend to do, right? Potlucks. Nice potluck. I stay. I'm getting ready to leave. I'm like even exiting early, I think, from what I remember, because I was like, all right, I got to get out. I've been here long enough. Like, let's get the hell out of here. As I'm leaving, I start talking to someone by the name of Simon, and I said, schmoozing. Where do you live? He's like, I live up in New Paltz. I was like, you don't happen to know this guy Hawk's brother? He's like, yeah, me and like 3 people here. We study. He teaches us shamanism, and we teach him Hasidus. So he introduces me to Oren, like the bread baker that this Hawks guy mentioned. He introduces me to this guy Shir Yaakov, who's a very prolific songwriter. I don't know if you're familiar with him. Shir Yaakov, Fine Side Fight. Goes by Shira Meira these days.
What does it go by?
Shira Meira.
Shira Meira.
It's a they. Yeah,
okay.
They have become a they, and they go by Shira Meira, no longer Shir Yaakov. And the fourth person that they introduced me is Zacharia, the person who I meet on 10th Street, the one that I walked out on the Tai Chi, the one that I went over to and said, hey, yeah, that was the fourth person in New York City, in Manhattan, I randomly meet this guy and he shows up at this service. I mean, nice. It was somewhat it was pretty mind-blowing that they knew Hawks. Like all the stories felt like they came together in this place.
Well, how was he walking?
He walked with a cane. He was limping. He wasn't totally. But one thing I used to think about Reb Zalman, I mean, you've talked about this kind of universal consciousness, as I used to say about Reb Zalman, it felt like he could traverse consciousnesses. Wait,
so slow down.
Yeah.
Okay, who's Reb Zalman?
Okay.
For the audience.
Sure. Reb Zalman is the founder of what you call Jewish Renewal.
Zalman Schachter Shalom.
Schachter Shalom. You can look him up. Zalman Schachter Shalom. There's a bunch of stuff on YouTube. He's written many books. And I say about him a few things for myself. I consider him my spiritual grandfather. That's how I think of him. I also think that in 100 years, people will come to appreciate a lot of what he brought forth to this world. But Reb Zalman grew up in Europe, I think it was Poland. I'm pretty sure it was Poland, maybe one of those borders. His family was what I think he termed like modern Hasidus. They weren't like Hasidus, but they went to like Stiblach and all kinds of things. And eventually I think he was like young.
They were culturally Hasidics.
Culturally Hasidic for sure, but like culturally Hasidic.
Which we call Heimish now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. They eat yapchik, that type of thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So his family escapes before the war. They travel all around France and end up in Antwerp, I think first, and he encounters Chabad there at Antwerp. I think he encounters them they're working in the diamond industry or something along those lines. He encounters them there, and so he eventually comes to America and becomes Chabad, and he's under what they call the Frierdiker Rebbe, right? He didn't see Reb Nachman, the Rebbe, as his Rebbe, probably more as a contemporary. And there's some interesting stories actually about their relationship. Yeah. But he sees the Frierdiker Rebbe as his Rebbe and becomes Chabad. And him and Shlomo Carlebach, from what I understand, are the first two shluchim to college campuses.
Right. Which is wild. Most people don't know this.
Yeah. Him and Shlomo are good friends throughout.
Which campus was he on? Do you remember?
He ends up in Vancouver at some point, so I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know so many details.
At that point, he was straight Chabad.
Yeah, he was Chabad. I mean, I'm sure he was always pretty out there. He tells a story. I really love this story. When he was in Vancouver, there was no mikveh in Detroit. So when couples, right, through the Nida, they would travel up to where he was in Canada. So he said they would have a room because they would stay over. It was a trip. So after the mikveh, they would stay over, and he had a room for them to do whatever, right?
Right.
And in the room, he had a huge picture of the Lubavitcher Rebbe in the room. And one time, a couple comes, and after they leave, he notices that they turned the picture around, like so it wasn't facing them as they were doing their relational stuff.
Right.
And he goes, I really want the day when couples will feel comfortable having the Rebbe see them, right, making love. Like that's
really,
yeah. Why should not in a kinky,
no, I know,
kind of sense. It's
just odd to me.
But I think he's addressing something much more.
What is he addressing?
I think he's addressing. I mean, it's not.
I watch his videos and then watch him again. That's how I always watch his videos.
Yeah.
So what's he saying there? Because that sounds really weird.
I think he's addressing. I think you know what he's addressing, Sonny. To be honest, but I appreciate you fleshing it out of me. I think he's clearly addressing our attitudes towards sex and sexuality, and how complicated that is. Talking about growing up in the mini cult that we did, or pseudo cult, or whatever it is. I mean, I think for sure attitudes towards sex and sexuality and being around women was so negative. I mean, there's so much negativity around that, so much fear. I mean, that's really the word, right? And making love.
Well, I'll say this. Listen, I understand his point. I just still think it's weird to have a big picture of the Rebbe in the room with you.
Not if you're Chabad, by the way.
Right.
I mean, I'm saying I imagine all Chabad probably have. I mean, I imagine the Rebbe's everywhere, so I don't see why.
The Rebbe's are in the bedroom also?
Yeah, why not? No, but his point was...
This does go to my issue with Rebbes in general. I have
I
have a hard time with putting someone on a pedestal like that. So
yeah.
It's a Hasidic thing, but I don't...
Right.
I haven't fully fleshed it out.
Right. But Kabbalistically, right, and Reb Zalman was into that, right, there's this whole, right, the whole L'Shem Yichud Kutche B'Yichud Shchinte, right? I mean, that's what you're supposed to say before every mitzvah, which is this idea of you reuniting, right? There's this reunification of Kutche B'Yichud, the masculine and the feminine. And I think he saw that as an essential part of healing the world, right? That love making, that sex, that things like that, should be normalized. That they are normal, and they need to be normalized. And
not just normal in Judaism; they're holy.
Oh, right. Well said. Exactly. The highest level. The highest level.
So it's not
right.
It's weird because a lot of that is probably the Catholic culture, that is put into our society.
Yes. So if people
Catholic, Christian.
No, 100%. And I think someone that addresses this well and someone that was influenced by Reb Zalman, another person we could talk about is Gershon Winkler, he's written a book called Sacred Secrets, and it addresses a lot of these.
He's not the one who wrote the Dibbuk, right?
He wrote the Dibbuk too.
Oh, he did, okay.
Yeah, and the Golem, and he also wrote...
his stuff is amazing.
Yeah, his first... So he also has a whole story. He left, and Reb Zalman, trailblazed. I don't like saying the word left, but he went on his own path, and then eventually Reb Zalman schleps him back in. It's in his book.
So Reb Zalman ends up. You're going off. I
just want to give one name of a book because I think it's worth reading, and if you like funny books, and I think I even mentioned this to you, Gershon wrote a book, one of his first books, and it's autobiography. It's called My Travels with the Evil Inclination. He's written a lot of other books, more, whatever. But one of them, and just for name dropping, Gershon considers himself, I think he's the first person that termed himself Jewish shaman, just so people understand. And if you want to look at him, and he's a Talmud Chacham on top of it. But anyways,
Right.
But yes, not to divert.
He's still around.
Yeah. Gershon's out in, I think he's in Colorado these days. He has these webinars that he does. I actually did a class.
So he was a Talmud. I didn't realize he was a Talmud.
Not a Talmud. He was his own man. And then what happened was, I don't want to say the story wrong, but it's in his book. He basically bounced at some point. He had kids and family here, and he couldn't hack it anymore. He was involved with NCSY, and he was like, I'm done. I don't know the exact point, but he went all the way out west. Eventually, he ends up on a farm in Virginia, and I think I read the book a long time ago, but it's in this book called My Travels with the Evil Inclination, which I think that's a pretty good title. I think
It's a great title,
right?
I never read that one.
Yeah.
I read the Golem and I read the Dybbuk, but I have not read that.
It's worth a read. I think you'll appreciate. He's humorous also. He likes humor. So he says that Reb Zalman would call him like once a month. What are you doing out there on this farm? Like, we need you, things like that. And eventually he comes back and creates his own path. And I actually organized a class with him.
Wait, hold on. You go back to sorry.
Can I just throw out a little you said I could throw out promos. It's a quick promo.
Okay.
If you go on YouTube and look up Gershon Winkler and Plants Through the Jewish Lens, there's a 4-part series that we did with Gershon, which I think is spectacular. And for all the people in this audience that are into plant medicine and things like that, worth at least just checking in on.
Okay.
So anyway,
I really want to know how you got connected to Zalman Show.
Okay, so the first way I got connected is I read a book called Jew and the Lotus, which is all about this delegation of Jews that went to go meet with the Dalai Lama. That was, I think, in 2006. You read it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even remember I read it. So then I think I emailed him. I didn't think
So the premise of the book was a couple of different rabbis went together to meet with the Dalai Lama to talk about exile
specifically about exile.
And he was one of the rabbis.
He was one of the rabbis, and he's kind of a theme. And if there's a lot of pictures online of their interactions, they're grabbing each other's beards. It's really cute. He's wearing Reb Zalman went in full garb, wearing a shtreimel, and as Reb Zalman was wanted to do, he was performative in that way, right? Intentionally performative, but definitely performative. So I read the book first, emailed him. This is, I think, 2006, 2007. No response. I didn't know much about email at that point, so it's very possible it never, was sent, or who knows. I ended up at Romamu in 2007. I started going pretty regularly, and in 2009, David Ingber is one of the main students of Reb Zalman, and I'm going out to Burning Man actually to go to the burn, and on the way, Colorado, and I have a friend in Colorado, and connection gets made, and I go to meet Reb Zalman in
I feel
Boulder.
like there's a whole podcast about Burning Man. I'm just
And Reb Zalman was very excited that I was going. I just want to say he was very excited. I remember part of the meeting. He's like, "You're going to Burning Man? Oh wow!" He loved it. He was so excited.
That was your first time at Burning Man?
It was my first and only, and this year I plan on going back.
Okay.
That's 2009. Yeah.
Burning Man is for everybody is Avodah Zarah. No, I'm kidding.
It's major Avodah Zarah, but you should go check it out.
Go check it out.
If you're ever going to check out any Avodah Zarah, by the way, this is the one to check out.
Well, they had a lot more, like, I think they had a kosher camp this year.
Yeah, they always have.
There was something a little bit more kosher.
Well, my friend, who did you hear from? Mendel Karp?
I'm not outing anybody.
Okay. Yeah, no, because I know my friend's been going for 10 years in a row. I have a very close friend, and he's formerly Chabad, or once Chabad, always Chabad, whatever. But his brother started going, who's still 100% Chabad, and he started creating like a kosher kitchen. But there's other kosher camps, but I wonder if there's a crossover.
I think that was the one they were referring to.
Nice, yeah.
That there's like kosher style kitchens.
Burning Man this summer, Sonny? What do you say?
We'll see.
We'll see. That was not very convincing. Yeah, keep on going.
Well, I have to convince my wife.
Bring her.
Yeah, of course I bring her. I don't go anywhere without my wife.
Yeah, I'm saying it happened. I will say this about Burning Man, that for all the talk about it, the level of inspiration that one walks away from Burning Man is incredible. It's really it's amazing. Human beings are amazing.
So I'm just going to point out. I'm going to point out
yes.
that you really still seeking. Like maybe it's by accident.
What do you mean still like back then or today?
Yeah, like it doesn't sound like you ever stopped seeking connection with the divine and like connection with your community and your religion. Like it seems to have, maybe it sounds in your story you had like a couple of years where you were trying to ignore it till your therapist said you're not ignoring it.
I was still seeking, just in different areas. I was into Buddhism and yoga and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But I think I've yes, that's a good way of putting it.
So and then you end up meeting with Zom and you became like, so what is, could you tell us because
what renewal is?
Yeah, what is renewal? Because it's
a good question.
Most of my audience is Orthodox,
yeah.
I believe. And I haven't really delved outside of Orthodoxy at all. Although I will say that my dream is to talk to every Jew. Like it's a Jewish podcast, not an Orthodox podcast. Although all my friends are in the Orthodox community. So I'm asking my friends to come on. It's been generally Orthodox, but
orthocentric.
Orthocentric. Yeah, it's very orthocentric.
You have to use the right terminology today. You know how it is out there.
Otherwise, something happens. So most of the time, but the closest I come to my purpose in Judaism, I think, is I love Jews. Like this is my tribe, and I want to spend time loving all Jews. And it's funny because I'm in a world where there's a lot of Orthodox Jews, so I could stay in that world forever. But there were a lot of Jews that I'm not connected to. So I am excited when I see people like Reb Zalman, who was inspiring people. I would not say Orthodox at all.
Definitely not. No. I mean, I told you this earlier, like to the point where Reb Zalman, first of all, it was people, there were rabbis, I think, within that kind, what we call non-Orthodox Judaism, progressive Judaism, who at some point Reb Zalman was so out there that they were like, this is too out there even for us, right? Even the most out there, what an Orthodox person would consider out there, he was out there.
You mean the people that were following him were eventually like, that's too much?
Yeah. I don't know following him. I would say like I've heard it from his contemporaries. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, he probably didn't start as crazy as he went.
No, agreed.
I'm saying
agreed.
Well, he was moving faster than everybody else.
Well, he also eventually got ordained as a Sufi sheikh, and which is, by the way, the Rambam's son was a Sufi, right? So there's branches within Sufism that actually have Jewish.
Yeah. Slow down.
This is a known thing. There's questions.
I don't know.
There's only questions if the Rambam was a Sufi, but the Rambam's son.
Okay, a Sufi is what?
Sufi is,
Sorry to make you do all this.
And I'm the wrong person because I'm not scholastic. I wish, someone else was being interviewed for these parts, only because I'm not the most intellectual scholastic. But what I would say is, from what my understanding is, that Sufi is basically the mystical branch of Islam.
Right. The Muslim Kabbalists.
Right, exactly.
Kind of.
Said. There are those, believe it or not, guys. Believe it or not.
There are some that think that it all comes from
what?
Zoroastrianism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
And we're going to bring up my friend Baruch Thaler, who was a co-founder of Nitzotzot. We'll get to that. But his father was Iranian, yes. His biological.
Do you know that we have the only Zoroastrian temple about 3 minutes from here? Ooh. Like the only one, I think there's one in California, but on the East Coast, it's the only one.
What time are afternoon prayers?
Afternoon prayers. They only seem to do one day a week. They had a crazy fire festival the other day. It was wow. I was like, what is that? I met like a Zoroastrian woman and I was like, tell me everything.
They're ancient. No, they're really ancient. Yeah. My friend Baruch, who we're going to talk about because he's
so a lot of there's a machlekes on the Sufism. I actually had Rabbi Harry, Rabbi Harry Rosenberg?
Yeah, of course.
He was talking about
the Pashtuns. He's into the Pashtuns.
Right. He was talking about how when they were forcing the lost tribes to become Muslim, then they connected somehow the Judaism and the Zoroastrianism and everything like got mixed up in that region. I forgot Afghanistan region is when everybody all this mysticism started popping up.
Interesting.
And he was saying is a lot of the influence also came from the Lost Tribes.
Right.
Into Sufism.
Right. He believes that the Pashtuns are, that's one of his missions, amongst
Who's
his many
that?
missions. Harry,
yeah.
Harry believes that the Pashtuns are a lost tribe, and it's part of his mission to bring them back into the
big
fold.
time.
Yeah.
I agree with him.
Okay.
I have very little information besides for a lot of YouTube videos I've watched.
You mean about but you've had Harry on?
I've only had Harry on, but I haven't had a Pashtun on.
I met Harry in a different context, mostly revolving around plant medicine. That was originally how I met Harry.
All right, we didn't even get to plant medicine.
We'll get to
this is going to be a 9-hour podcast. And you have an appointment. I told you, leave it open.
Yeah.
Wait, so okay, so
just I know it's not the proper. Okay, we're good. Yeah,
we're good.
Yeah.
So
Zalman. So I had what you call Yehudas with Zalman in his basement, where I had a one-on-one meeting with him in 2009, set up by David. And yeah, I mean, I think it was. I mean, I could tell you a few things that happened in that meeting, but it was really good to meet him, and from there, we developed an ongoing relationship where we would talk once a month. I don't remember exactly when that happened because I had another Yechidus meeting with him at some point, but I'll tell you a couple of things that stuck out, and some of your audience, most of your audience probably won't like hearing this, but I when I came in there, I said, look, I haven't been Orthodox in a long time. I've been on my own path, but part of me still believes that Orthodoxy is the right way. And it was one of the most emphatic things I heard him say ever to me. And he's like, if you have a right to think that way, but just know you're thinking like a child. Like that's a childish way to think. If you think it's the only way, right? And so you asked before what renewal is. So just giving a little background of Reb Zalman. Reb Zalman's the shliach. Eventually he takes acid. And I don't know when this happens, but he gets involved with also different religions, not being religious, but he wants to create dialogue, right? That's a big part of his worldview, is that Judaism needs to be spread out into the world, but we'll get to that. But he takes acid, and what I heard from that was that, I don't know if it was the influence of the acid or he was already influenced, but both the Holocaust and man landing on the moon shifted his worldview. The Holocaust, of course, he already had, right? This happened, the man landing on the moon happens in his lifetime. And one of the things that I've heard of this shift is that similar to, and this might come from Heschel, right? Abraham Joshua Heschel, who was, right, came over and descendant of the Opta Rav and ends up in JTS, Jewish Theological Seminary, which is conservative. So it may come from Heschel, I'm not sure, but I think I heard it from Reb Zalman, that this idea that when the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, Judaism shifted from a shamanic, sacrificial-based religion, right, temple-based religion, to a rabbinic religion, right? That's what happens. I mean, it's basically a historical fact. Before then, they're not. I don't know what they're doing, but I don't think they're sitting and learning all day, right?
There are people that argue with that assessment.
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm not the person who necessarily argue with that, but what I'm saying is that the argument from the regular one is that we are still that. We're still the shamanic type people. We're no longer able to perform those. And the belief is that all of our traditions will go away because we're now sent into exile. The rabbis were able to just codify and lock in what we already had. So it wasn't like that we shifted to the rabbis and became a new religion, but that the rabbis now wanted it to be, what's the word?
Codified, as you said.
Codified is the word, but it's not the word canon.
Canonized.
Like make it like this is what religion is, and that was an anticipation of an exile, which was for sure going to wipe us out.
100%, and I don't think that's what he's arguing.
That goes to the point of the 10 lost tribes that completely lost their religion. That's because they didn't have that. So I don't
think he'll argue with what you said. I think where the thing is, the rub, right, is that Jews were not praying, or weren't using words all day, weren't praying. They never, right? Anje Knesset Zagdola comes up with that, right? Again, learning all day, like writing down things, all this studying, all these practices come on later as a way agreed to survive in exile, knowing that an exile is coming.
And lock in. That's the point, is that, and lock in what we originally are. I mean, like, you're praying, you're talking about the sacrifices, you're talking about this, understanding that's really where we are. We're doing this to hold on to it till when we come back to it.
Right.
That's kind of their argument. And I'm not
fair. No, fair.
And I'm not the right guy to argue, but
and I don't think there's much discrepancy here. Actually, it's just that there is this shit. Right. We could both agree that there's actually this, in terms of in terms of practice, there is a shift. There is a shift. I mean, why that shift happens, right? And I think everyone would agree why that shift happens. But they were not praying; they were praying through sacrifice, right? And the argument that I would make, and I think this is again what he's trying to address to some degree, and Gershon's trying to address it, is that as much as to your point where they were trying to develop these practices so we could hold on to, for the most part, those get lost, right? And we see this in the shift of, and again, I'm the wrong person to start pontificating about this in any way. I think someone could speak much better, but I think you see it later. You see this in the Hasidic movement, right? What happens in the Hasidic movement? It's like things were not working, right? People are studying Gemara all day and having their heads in books, and those people are put on pedestals. And what happens to the average person has no connection to the divine, and so there's all this stuff going on. All that stuff gets lost, right? That ability for a person who sinned to bring a sacrifice and have that be their way of connecting. They're not even allowed that, right? In a way there's not that opening. Right. You're an Am Haaretz, you don't have that. Anyways, not to get too much into that, but I think Reb Zalman said the same thing about the Holocaust, right? After the Holocaust, there needs to be a shift. Something profound happened, right, within Jewish culture, within Judaism, and to not address it and to make believe like, oh, we just go on, which I think has been, for the most part, the Orthodox's reaction to it, right, is almost to double down, almost to recreate.
Well, a lot of different groups had a lot of different reactions, but there were drastic reactions. I mean, the Kollel movement went wild. The Yeshiva movement went wild.
Right. So they've essentially...
The Hasidic movement went wild.
Right. But in a way, they've doubled down on what they thought was going on in Europe. This brings us back, actually, to Shayashiv in a certain way, right? Where I think the Rebbe, we had a cheder, right? We were brought up in a cheder. Hasidic Rebbeim. Right. They didn't want to teach us English. There was this concept of somehow we can't lose what was lost, right? And we have to bring it here.
Right.
And in that conception, whatever was brought here is not what was going on. I mean, if you ask again, if you actually look, right, if we look at his people weren't sitting and learning all day in Europe. They were not. There was almost a doubling down, and I have some of it. I believe is a reaction to what happens when 6 million Jews are murdered and Judaism is devastated in this way. There is certainly some kind of unconscious.
So, what was his idea of the shift? I get what the Orthodox did, and we could definitely debate that. But what was his idea of shift?
So his idea was that Judaism actually has, and this is why he calls it renewal, is that there's so many ancient practices that Judaism has, and Judaism is actually what he would call a ancient wisdom tradition, and that tradition has many branches within it. There's the Mizrachim, and there's the Orthodox, and there's the Greeks. There's so many things. But they've gotten lost over the years, especially before the Holocaust. They were lost. Right. And his idea was to be rooted in the past, but also bring those practices back, so that you have all that available to you as a Jew. Like, Judaism is not this myopic, right, or only Orthodoxy, only this way.
Right. He was looking at it in a much broader lens.
Much broader lens.
So why was he... I think one of the questions I always had is, I love what he was, I love a lot of the things he said. Not a follower of him because for many reasons, but well, I was saying.
What was we gonna say? Because you could say it.
I also don't think he knows what he's talking about. So
of course not. Who does?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm saying so Shkaich, you have another view. Right. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, this is actually, I'll get into it because we said we were gonna maybe talk about this, but for a long time I studied, the Karaites, and I was really fascinated. Well, the Karaites are like not believers in the
oral tradition, right?
They don't believe in the oral tradition the way we do,
right? I
mean, they have some forms of oral tradition, but it's not really. It's that that the parts of the Torah that we don't understand, you have the ability, everybody has the ability to, interpret it as they want. So I'll give you an example with the Karaites is that they'll eat a cheeseburger, but they won't eat shawarma.
Right.
Because which is a fascinating one.
Well, they eat shawarma because they're anti-Zionist?
Anti-Zionist. No, the cheeseburger is they don't believe in basar v'chalav. They don't have a problem with eating meat and milk. And the reason is because the line in the Torah that says don't cook your a kid in a mother's milk, they just see it as allegorical. Don't be mean. It's very mean.
Wow.
You kill their kid, this baby, and right in front of them, you're cooking it in your own milk. That's the milk that they let out is their loving source, how they keep this child alive. You killed that child and cooked it in the milk. It's like pouring salt in your wounds. So for them, they just see it as don't be mean.
Right.
And they're like, okay, don't be mean.
So who are the very little ones? The Tzedukim? The ones that didn't move on Shabbos? They didn't move on Shabbos.
Yeah, Tzedukim were like, if it says it, it's true.
Right.
And they actually, Muslims are very more similar to the Tzedukim. Like they don't, like if it says it, it is. None of us are literal with the Torah.
Right.
Like what the Karaites call the frum Jews the Rabbinites. Like similar to you saying the rabbinical tradition.
Right.
So they call them the Rabbinites.
Yeah.
It's always funny when you look at it from the other side, you see like, oh wait, they call us something. I thought we're the one,
Exactly.
So when I was looking into that pretty deeply. Ultimately, I realized that it's going to be either me or the rabbis that decide how to figure out the Torah. So like at the end of the day, they still got to figure things out.
Yeah.
So I'm an idiot. So I don't really like. I was like,
leave it to that.
Doesn't seem right either.
My field of expertise is addiction. Their field of expertise is
they
rabbi
knew
stuff.
So like if ultimately like Tzedukim kind of make more sense. Like I just do it like a robot. So like then no one has to ever think. But if you have to think, let's go to the rabbis to think. So I don't know where I went off on that. But why was he not pushing the traditions of the rabbis? He keeping Shabbos and kosher and
right.
I think himself he might have. I don't know. No, okay.
He was not traditionally Orthodox.
Right.
Not.
So why did he decide that?
So an example that he used to talk about a lot is what he called updating the software. Right. You have the hardware, which is the intention behind what these things are. Right. The laws, the mitzvahs, the whole thing. But but like in any computer, right? If you don't update the software, you're just not up to date, and everything will be slow and backwards and all kinds of things. And he really felt that things needed an update, like to live into and that was the point of right the Holocaust and seeing man land on the moon. Like these shifted his whole view. Like you could imagine, like how profound that could be for somebody, right? All of a sudden, like man doesn't have to be. We're not just on this planet, right? We're not just whatever that was.
What about people like me who don't believe we landed on the moon?
Do you believe the Holocaust happened?
Oh my God. I didn't think that was up for debate.
Well,
but
apparently it is, by the way, out there.
It is up there.
Yeah. Well, you have...
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
That's why we need you got to become the new Fuentes. You know what I'm saying? We need you. I'm saying on the reverse. We need someone to counter these
like say
monsters.
The Holocaust happened?
You keep on saying it because there's going to be those podcasters out. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I think... But to that point, this is exactly.
So he's saying that So he's saying we have to upload.
That's part of it. He wrote a book together with this philosopher named Ken Wilber. It's called Integral Halacha, and it gets into more of these details. I'll be honest. I was in the Jewish Renewal Rabbinical School at some point called Aleph.
Right. And
that class, I was the most disassociated from that class of all the classes. I was dissociated in a certain way from everything because I was confronting. It was like, and I'll explain why I ended up there, but definitely. This is where he addresses a lot of these questions of what.
Right. Okay. But either way, he left that, and you got You got to the point where you joined Aleph.
Yeah.
And you wanted to be a renewal rabbi.
So. I don't, look, we all have blind spots, and I don't claim to know my unconscious as well as I'd imagine or would like to. And, I don't know if you even believe there's an individual unconscious, so maybe I don't need to know anything.
No, there is.
But But if I were to,
You keep making references. I'm in the middle of a theory, I'll explain to the audience, about maybe that we don't have an internal consciousness, we have an external consciousness. But it's for another, meaning we're all sharing each other's consciousnesses, and it's just our conscious is just our, there's a part of us that is like a channel that touches the consciousness. I feel like that needs a full explanation. I will do. Follow me on Patreon. I will give you a full explanation. I don't have a Patreon.
This is paid subscription stuff.
Paid subscription stuff.
Yeah, you got it. I'm with you. I think that does belong.
Yeah, I'm in a deep dive, and but it doesn't make any practical difference. We do have an unconscious. There you go.
Before we enter into Aleph and that stuff, I'll because I think this does lead up to it, and I think we've mentioned a little bit, we would talk about it, is that I had, I would say I was influenced by plant medicine.
When did plant medicine come in?
Well, recreationally, I'd probably taken my first mushroom trip in, I want to say, it wasn't even a trip. I had a roommate. He was very into music, and last minute he's like, let's go to this thing called Bonnaroo. It's in the middle of Tennessee in the summer. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a huge music festival. 100,000 people show up. We came totally unprepared. It's like this boiling heat. We rented like a pickup truck and show up there and have no coverage of the heat. It was very interesting. Great time. And he had a little bit of mushrooms on him, not even more than what you'd call a microdose, but not a real dose, not a full dose. He gave it to me there, and all of a sudden I'm like, Ziggy Marley was playing, and I'm like, Damian Marley was playing. I'm like, holy cow, I love this guy's music. It's amazing. I was just like vibing to the music. It was amazing. And then I realized afterwards, like the mushrooms had hit, like that's one of their things. And eventually I had a full dose several years after that. Well, no. Sorry, probably within the year, I had a full dose in Central Park, and it was profound, unbelievable experience. Like,
did you take it with intention, or
it was like, more. Let's try it? I was in my 20s at that point. It was my friend had taken them in the past. He's like, I'd taken them at this festival. I was like, I want more of that, and so I'd taken it. No, but I did not take it intentionally, but I did have quite a profound divine experience, I would say, actually, from that journey. So I was doing that kind of recreationally for a period of time, and then kind of stopped. I don't even remember the exact trajectory, but then in 2012, I had a friend that was passing away from lung cancer, and it's a long story, but through this place at Romu, I was connected to someone by the name of Carol Hart, who her and her husband actually wrote the lyrics for Sesame Street, and also were involved with this book called Free to Be You and Me, and she was very involved with what you call the Native American Church. I know church on this podcast, may get a reaction, but the Native American Church is a way to legally take peyote. That's basically that's basically what it's about, for the most part. I mean, I don't know, so I'm going to back that up. But it's one of the aspects of why they have a church is so that peyote is legal. And so they had organized a ceremony for her in 2012 in upstate New York for her. She had been given a year and she had lived 3, but she was like, okay, now I'm ready to go. Like she was done with experimental stuff. She's like, I'm ready to go. She decided she's done any treatments. And from there, they organized this for particular reasons, whatever it was, not important right now. And so that was my first ceremony. It was a peyote ceremony in a teepee in upstate New York. That was 2012. And then I took my first ayahuasca ceremony in 2014 in Brooklyn. And this is going to lead into, and I'm not just saying, so this leads into a bunch of stuff, but.
It's actually a similar time.
What was that?
When I did my first.
2014?
Maybe 2013, something around that range.
Yeah.
Probably in the same place. We're not going to talk about it.
And so we could let's talk about it. I mean, I've heard you've talked about it before.
No, I talk about the experience, not who I did it with or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I'm also not going to name drop, but what was going on there was that I had gone in. I'd known about ayahuasca for a very long time at that point, and had been interested in it, and was waiting for the right time. and finally decided, okay, I'm going to take the plunge. And I don't remember my exact intention, to be honest, but I was definitely going intention. I prepared. I was really careful. And I had, what people just, a very quite profound experience again. The thing that happened, though, and I think this leads into this, somehow the medicine, and I don't like calling it the medicine, and we could talk about that later, but this work had gone to my Jewish shame and addressed my Jewish shame, which had been around for a long time. I talked about it in therapy. I had done acupuncture for it. I had done Ralphing and Tai Chi and all kinds of stuff, and it was helpful. These things were all helpful to some degree, but it wasn't direct. It wasn't like I'm sitting there under the influence and going to that place. It was afterwards that I noticed, oh my God, like something really shifted. And that's a whole nother conversation, because I don't necessarily agree with that there's full shifts from.
What does that mean? You don't agree with that? It's happening inside you.
I understand. I think these things work a little bit differently than we maybe like to, and this is just my opinion. But let's come back.
No.
No, I'll tell
We're
you
not
what.
Gonna come back.
That's because there's a much better part. We will come back, and it's a much better part. There's a whole other part of it.
Okay, because I want to.
We will come back to it, and I'll give more then. But okay.
All right.
Whatever it was. So this is part of what led me down the road of entering Aleph, but also with a intention of creating community for people like myself that were no longer part of traditional orthodoxy, but also were connected and didn't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. And I had been going to Rome at this point for several years already, and it was beautiful. There's a lot of beauty there and a lot to like. And also, ultimately, it was a very different community or population than someone who had grown up ultra-Orthodox, right? And was on their own path. And so in around 2015, 2016, myself, someone by the name of Eli Moseson, you can look him up. He is a professor. He's taught at Columbia and other things. Some people have said that he has, in the last 10 years, he has done the most, in terms of academia, he has written the most and has contributed the most to Hasidic literature in the last 10 years within academia. And we may need to take his name out after this. And Baruch and someone by the name of Baruch Thaler all got together and decided to co-found an organization eventually called Nitzotzot,
right,
which happened in 2017 and 2016, 2017. And the intention of this organization was, like I said, for people that had grown up ultra-Orthodox, no longer considered themselves that, but didn't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. And Baruch himself was someone who was quite a prolific, brilliant person. Nitzotzot still exists on Facebook. You can look up, he used to give shiurim that was supposed to be an hour. He'd give a class every Wednesday night. He has since passed. That's part of why I'm talking to him like that. But he gave a class that lasted about 5 hours. And there's some very amazing things on there. There's a series that he did on Kagavna, which is part of the Friday night liturgy that we have that's left out of most Orthodox, but in Hasidic communities they do it, and it comes from the Zohar, and it's really beautiful liturgy. And he did a whole thing on Azamra, Shvachin. He has a whole series on that, and then he does the Parsha. And there's so much content there. Actually, it's worth looking up. Nitzotzot, if you want to look it up. Nitzotzot. It's a Facebook. It's on Facebook currently, and I think there's stuff on YouTube as well. So we co-found this organization as a way to address community for people who've lost community for sure, to some degree or another, have lost their family intentionally, not intentionally. Thank God, not the case in my story, but there's many stories of people losing their family and losing their thing, and we had quite a long list of demands, so to speak. Not demands. I'm joking. I'm saying we had a long list of mission. Our original mission statement was quite a lot of projects dealing with Holocaust trauma, right? Because we estimated 60 to 70% of people that grew up ultra-Orthodox have at least one or two grandparents, right, that survived the Holocaust. In a lot of ways, the trauma that's happened from that has not been addressed, right? And affects us. We wanted to allow.
So there's like a therapeutic component as well?
Yeah, there was therapeutic components. There was a whole, that was sort of what I was bringing to the, I would say that's part of what I was bringing to the table. Ellie was, I would say, a lot more of the scholarly academia, but also from a psychological bent. And Baruch was, more philosophical, very well learned and all kinds of things. And so we founded this in 2016. We had a board and a whole thing, and we raised funds from UJA and other places. And just to jump ahead, eventually in 2019, we started doing Friday nights. We were having like 100 or so people show up on a Friday night. We did several Friday nights. And then COVID hit, and I went through personal stuff, divorce, and I pulled back. And eventually Baruch got sick and passed away a little over a year ago. And so for now, it is what it is. We could talk more about that, but that was the general theme of. It's
interesting because and I did follow you guys
on Nitzotzot.
Yeah, I mean,
I know because at some point you had called me like a spiritual leader, which I really was. I mean, Baruch was kind of I would say Baruch was much.
Yeah, you're doing all the spiritual stuff, which was so cool.
What did you follow? What did you?
I don't remember. I think it must have been on Facebook or something.
Exactly. Yeah,
I've been off Facebook for a bit.
Yeah.
Just because I started finding it very boring. I'm on Instagram a little bit more because I'm doing a lot of posting and stuff. I want to talk about Our Village Women's Home. Our Village is a sober living community in Pomona, New York. And a lot of people mistakenly believe that this is like a regular, like halfway house. It is not. It is a full-blown community where you are embraced and loved and cared about and cared for. And they will literally do anything to help you move forward. It is the safest and most wonderful place to come and get your way through the recovery. They help you in every single way. Our Village is everything you need to help you get through the most difficult time of your life, early recovery. And it helps you transition into an independent, amazing life. And we believe in Our Village that everybody has the potential to be their amazing self. And the people that come are awesome. The staff is awesome. You definitely want to get in touch with them. It's ourvillageny.org. Reach out and you'll find out all about it. But I was very fascinated because years ago, I'll call them out in a certain sense, is that Footsteps came about to deal with kind of some similar stuff.
So do you want me to?
No. So let me say what I think is that my experience with Footsteps was actually I was pretty, and I may still be pretty negative about it, is because I felt, and I'd love to have one of them on to like have them defend themselves on this, but my experience is that it was a lot of hurt people trying to help other hurt people and throwing out the baby with the bathwater, meaning there was no recognizing that part of the healing might be finding your way that doesn't, it's not like I go from ultra-Orthodox to completely secular and I'm going to be healed. People don't realize that this stuff is like, it's stuck in the DNA of the people. It's going back generations, years, and not just years, like eons of time where this has been stuck in their DNA. And to just say, well, that stuff's garbage, it's literally throwing out the baby with the bathwater, and, well, figuratively. But it really bothered me because and the work in our place that I was doing was I was having very similar people, and I was like, let's find a place for you in this tribe.
Right.
We have this tribe. I'm stuck on the tribe thing. So like,
me too.
So like, you don't have to go. The secular world of the secular Western world is not necessarily offering more than our ancient traditions. It's not. And in order to heal from the trauma of your religious trauma, you may have to come back in a different way to be able to see it from a different angle. So it's interesting how we have an interesting thing in Our Village where I purposely have a rabbi who looks like a rabbi. He doesn't. It's not like some cool shaman-looking rabbi. He's a rabbi, and I like that he acts rabbinical because he's kind and loving and empathetic and all the things that a rabbi should be. And these people have been hurt by people that looked exactly like him, and then
I love that.
There's so much healing in that.
Yeah,
like
it's beautiful.
It's
I love
the
that.
problem was not the rabbis.
No.
The problem were the people you've encountered in your life.
Yes.
So it's the healing has to come back. So this what you're saying, and I remember watching it and going, "This is so beautiful because not everybody fits, not everybody's going to be able to make it, but it's so not healthy to throw it all out."
So not healthy. So I just want to. I'm going to get back to that. I do want to address footsteps for a second. I think there's a more. I know a lot of people have the impression that you expressed, and I get that. And I'm not saying it's true, not true. I don't know them so well.
I got that from people that I knew went there.
Yeah,
so
and there's definitely been that impression. I will say there's a more complex thing going on. As an example, Lonnie Santos, who is the director, is actually involved in conservative Judaism. She is a cantor on High Holiday, or I don't know, a cantor. She's involved. I know that she's involved, right? Meaning that her personally, she has this relationship to Judaism that she hasn't thrown out. Conservative Judaism is pretty close to modern Orthodoxy for all people who don't know. If you look it up, like the mainstream conservative Judaism is very, very close to what modern Orthodoxy used to be like. Modern Orthodoxy obviously has come to the right, I would say, a lot over the last several years. So I'm saying there's a more complex thing, and I think there was a need. I want to say this. There's a few things I want to say.
I'd like to have them on because my experience has been years ago, maybe before she even arrived.
It's very possible. Well, there was someone by the name of Malki Schwartz who started it.
That's who started it.
Right. But then Malki left. Now, I want to also offer that there's important phases, as within any mourning process or any transition, where all kinds of things need to happen. And so I agreed to not get stuck in the anger and let that be the defining, thing in your life, unless you choose that, right? Mm. But is there a necessary step and a transition where people need to rage and do all kinds of things? I think there's room for that too.
I agree.
Again, as long as that's right, as long as there's space given. And so that's how we sort. That's literally how we. So you led me right. Like that's literally how we describe it. So we're the next phase after footsteps, right? You left, or you went trailblazed your own path, whatever you want to call it. You got a secular education, so you created some freedom and choice for yourself in the secular world. And now you're like 30 or early 30s or wherever you are, and you're like, where do I fit in this world? It's hard for anyone to fit in, but like, where do I fit? I don't fit. I don't belong. I'm not a reform. I'm not reform. I'm not conservative. I'm not renewal even though that's the closest start. Okay, then if I take myself outside of the Jewish world, like, where do I fit in when 20 or odd years of my life were literally dedicated night and day to this project, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And the world, as you were saying before, with Far Rockaway, you feel, right, it's hard for people to understand. You imagine what it's like to try to felt understood in the outside world. And I think people eventually would come to that place. The other place that I want to address, and unfortunately for my own children, I have not been able to because of my specific personal situation, but I'll give myself credit here. I'll say, I was like, where do my kids belong? Where do they find belonging with someone like me? Where would they find belonging? They're not going to get, like, there's a dissonance between myself and the world that they would grow up in, and how do I bridge that? And so part of what I was trying to create was thinking that even though a lot of people in my situation did not have kids, and I could go into the details of why I think that is and so on, or families, some did, and eventually more would, and that's what's been happening now. Mm-hmm. And so where do the children belong, right? And how do we give them a place and a space to belong? And so that was also definitely a big part of my intention for what was going on. I want to give a little side note, and I want to say that my impression, and you probably know more about this, it seems that over the last 10, 15 years within the Orthodox world and even the ultra-Orthodox world, there's really been given a lot of choice for people that they don't, and and I think you obviously offer, initially was our place, but I think it really spread, right, where people were given that they don't have to be, it's not all or nothing, right? It's not this place where you can choose, you can not do this and do that. And there's big, and I want to give credit to like the Orthodox world in that way. I think it's really tremendous.
I feel proud that I was definitely one of the trailblazers in that one.
It's tremendous. Yeah, I think it's huge.
The way I described the work I did in our place as it's a safety net. There's no leaving. I mean, like you're still part of us. There's no going out of the Jewish community. We need to find a place for you to be.
Which is such incredible foresight. No, seriously. And at that time, when you're doing it 20 years ago, I mean, incredible, Sonny. Seriously, like really, really incredible work. Like incredible.
It was special work.
And incredible foresight. Like really incredible. Like to be able to see that and see that was needed and how to do that and have the courage to step into that space. Even though I think you were naturally just born into that in a certain way. And
my house was like that.
Talking about the universal consciousness, I'm saying, I'm not giving you so much credit, but you get credit. You, certainly, it's true.
I mean, I will say we were probably the only house that had like trans people at our Seder and non-Jewish people. Yeah, but nobody knew. Right. We knew. We had some very, very interesting people coming through our house. I mean, it was always a fun house to come to.
It was the best. Yeah.
We'd have actors and singers, and there was some real interesting people.
It was open. It was an open,
Yeah. So I was trained in this, and the belief that, I was very much trained in this idea. Shlomo Freifeld was teaching a lot of the same stuff as well.
Yeah. He wasn't, right? I mean, Reb Shlomo was like, Bob Dylan came through, and this one came through, and Baal Teshuvah's, but, I think there was a pretty narrow lens there. I would say. Yeah. I think your house actually was quite open and spacious in that, right? There was a spaciousness about being in your home. I found that there were two shayashivs when we grew up. I'll just go back to that. There were the people who came through as tourists, and I think they benefited more than everybody. Yeah. And there were the people that stayed in the community, and then they were more like directed of where to go. But if you showed up for a year or two in Shayashiv, life altering. Yes. Like it was like you'll meet the best people you ever met in your life. They spent a year or two in Shayashiv, and then they took those ideas and the song and all that amazing stuff that was happening there and moved it on. Which I want to give credit, coming back to Shayashiv, like part of my chush, as you would say, for staying within it and the beauty that was available came through Shayashiv. There's no question that having that experience, which is a transcendent experience, actually, what it is, right? To be in Shayashiv at that time on Yom Kippur, and so because you have hundreds of people singing the same song, and there's a transcendence that was experienced. I think that was carried through. That really carried me through, and also definitely planted the seeds for wanting not to lose that, right? To have that. Yeah, amongst other things. So wait, I gotta focus this a little bit. No, because because there's more. Generally, I have been slowing down on my psychedelic conversations. Yes, I have been slowing down. My views have changed a lot. Mm-hmm. Can I just want to give one quick shout out before we go to the psychedelics, because and he is attached to this. Baruch Thaler, who I mentioned, besides the project being to create community and to offer people a space to come to and be tribal still and connected to their Judaism, it was also that one of the things that happened, and I don't think people really realize this, some of the most brilliant minds within Judaism, really, and I'm not one to exaggerate, and I think people, if you ask around, will know this, got sidelined when they left, or whatever you want to call them. Literally got sidelined, right? And the progressive world wanted nothing to do with them because they were freaks, so to speak, and they like in their own way. They were trailblazers, they were iconoclasts, they were eccentric. And the Orthodox world basically didn't want much, right? They weren't accepted. And so these gifts, these gifted people and these gifts that they had developed, that they worked probably very hard, but also came naturally to them, but had prolific things to offer, gifts to offer, really got sidelined. And part of the project was to reenact that, to reactivate those treasure, whatever you call them, treasure troves. I would say all this stuff is very threatening to the Orthodox community. Oh, for sure. Oh, we had no. So I understand. Even as I'm doing this podcast, I could hear people going, "Stop! Shut this down! Don't even talk about it." No, 100%. Not just that. I can tell you that, and we talked about this a little bit. I wasn't sure what I was going to share as we came in, this is what's coming forward and feels actually important. And I'm not someone I've quote unquote been in the shadows, so to speak, in a lot of ways. And I'll speak more to that when we get back to plant medicine. But I'm also not in the shadows, so I'm hiding so much as like, yeah, I'm not here to this is not a confrontational piece. This is not challenging. I don't think anyone believes that Orthodox Judaism should not exist. The opposite. We believe, and Renewal will talk like this and say, hey, no, we love that there's this Orthodox, but there's also other things, right? And so, but very well understood. I can tell you certain revenge fantasies that I've had that would speak to what you're saying about the threatening nature of what potentially would happen if these things were opened up to the mainstream in a way. But I'll say this also: the community that the Orthodox community has is amazing and cannot be replicated. I think everyone will agree with that.
Everybody's trying in a certain sense, but it's
not possible because ultimately halacha, and I'll say it, halacha.
Why?
Because the way that it ties the room together, so to speak, as they say in The Big Lebowski, right? The way that things are tied together.
What a great call.
Right?
Nice.
So
it tied the room together.
Right, but that's what it does. Halacha really ties the room together. You see each other 3 times a day, technically, because you go to shul. You see each other every Shabbos. The level of intertwinedness and the ethics and the values that are promoted, you couldn't make it up. And because it's real and because it's there and it's needed and it's beautiful. And I never ever would want to, in any way, say that that's not. And we know the problems, and you know the problems all too well, way more than I do. This is not whitewashing it, but there is something so special and so beautiful about that community and about Orthodoxy in general and what it's able to promote. And I in no way, I don't think Reb Zalman ever wanted to replace that was not his
right.
That was not his thing. And he's had an influence, by the way, on Orthodox. Just so you know, he's for sure had an influence on progressive Judaism. I imagine someone said something really cool to me about the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Quick, he said he was a Baal Tshuva to Chabad, and then he stopped being a Baal Tshuva, and he said, the Rebbe was very smart, obviously, right? He knew that by sending his shluchim out into the world, that they would influence the world, but he also knew that the world would influence them and would bring it back in. And if you tell me the Rebbe did not know that, then you don't know who the Rebbe was, right? Like, so I think in the same way, Reb Zalman knew. I think he wanted influence, less so about changing things or creating a new way, as much as like creating other options and also another lens into how we experience our Judaism. And there's deeper stuff.
It's interesting. Rabbi Shlomo Kabach, I once heard him say that he read a lot of secular books, but he refused to listen to secular music. I'm like completely shocked by that.
Yeah.
But he said music goes straight to your soul, and I can't let that in. Like he couldn't let that in. I don't,
Telling me all those days spent in Haight-Ashbury.
I'm like, how did you possibly not hear the greatest music of all time?
Was that a direct quote from him or one of his?
Yeah, I saw him say it.
Interesting. Wow.
I don't know the words exactly, but it was like that, and I was like, that is. I saw it on a video somewhere. Someone
interesting.
Will find it.
That is interesting.
But I was really like floored. I had a similar thing. I was just talking to Chase Taub on a podcast, and he said, like, I don't read. I was like, what? He's like he's incredible in his thoughts and his breath, and it's just like amazing. And he says, I know a little bit about everything. Like, I don't need to read everything.
I don't like books in general, by the way. Just putting that out there. I think there's a lot of...
I love books.
I love books too. If you walk into my home, the only thing that I have a collection of is books.
Yeah.
And I've read quite a bit, thank God. But I also feel like there's so much... I saw you talk about the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People with Yoni on here. And what's the one book, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to name a name here, but it's someone who's one of his mentors told me, he said, if you take that book and you actually, you're insane if you actually live that book, because it's just not possible. Like it's, the point being that so many books are, it's complicated, meaning the relationship, how do you bring that out actually into life? And,
Well, there is an issue with self-help books.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at. Yes.
Well, Eli Arenthal had a joke he told me where it's, he said, the only self-help book that was useful to me was the self-help book on how to build a bookshelf of self-help books.
Exactly. And make sure they're not seen. So
No, that he built the bookshelf. And then now he has all the self-help books.
Nice.
I don't know who he was quoting, but
nice.
I'm like so hung up on tribes and community that I don't actually believe there is such a thing as self-help. Like, I don't think we could help ourselves without other people.
Agree.
So,
well, actually, there's a guy, Armand, because I know we're going to shift into the plant medicine world. There's a guy, Armand, who was a sociologist, but also connected to the Peruvian, jungle culture. And he, I think, in Peru, and he created his own thing. I think they call it imetics. It's a long story. I encountered a guy years ago, now is in Spot. So many stories. But anyways, he alters the stuff. Like, he has a very particular process of how he gives out these things, but he alters what they do. He created his own stuff, and he does the ceremonies very different than how you and I have experienced one, where they encourage socializing, actually. And one of his reasons why he encourages socializing is, he says, wounding happens relationally. So on some level, the only way to heal it is relationally, right? And I'm with you. I mean, we found that community. There's no question that community, right, like, are as important, if not.
Right. If I could make an argument that the biggest healing property of psychedelics has been the community of psychedelics.
So yes. Well, even in the ceremony, there's this transient and temporary community, but that community is very profound in a sense, because you're all very vulnerable and deep in it. And yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you. I'm going to ask you straight.
Yeah.
What are your views on the healing properties of psychedelics, and how have they shifted?
I'm gonna not answer straight, because why would I do that? It's no fun.
You said nothing straight yet.
Exactly.
Everything is winding.
You better believe it. You ever heard it? You know that ayahuasca is like a winding vibe.
Trump says he goes on these, I forgot what he calls it. He goes on these roads and he gets back. I forgot what he called them.
These, first of all, good questions. I am not an expert. I am not a shaman. I am not anything. I will say this. From my experience of ayahuasca, particularly going to my, what I would call my Jewish shame, I kept on exploring, obviously, and did more ceremonies over the years and whatever. And then,
it keeps coming up.
What?
I mean, the same topic?
No, because remember, it was totally unconscious, meaning it wasn't even a conscious experience. The first experience, I just felt it in my bones. It was like, oh my God, this thing that I've been carrying around forever somehow has shifted. And I know we're going to get back to that, but I want to first give some historical things here. When did several ceremonies, stopped, did several zones. In 2018, I was going to Israel as part of the first cohort for the Aleph rabbinical program. It was the first cohort going to Israel, doing a program there in Israel. And when I was there, a friend that we had grown up with, who said, hey, there's this guy in Israel. You got to come sit with this guy. He's amazing. His ceremonies are amazing, blah, blah, blah. And I tried, and it didn't work out. So left it alone. Eventually I said, why don't we bring him to America? Like, there's no dedicated Jewish circles here, right? Like, till now, I would sit and mix. I'm grateful that in our circles that I was sitting with in Brooklyn, we were allowed to sing Jewish songs, and it was really beautiful. But there was no dedicated Jewish circle. Right. And part of what was also inspiring me was in Ari Kaplan's book, he talks about, he used to sit with his group in Jewish meditation. I think it's in that book, in his first, I think it's in the first chapter. He talks about how he used to sit with his group of psychologists, and they would explore consciousness together and Judaism and this and that. So it was kind of like a combination of those. Like, what would it be like to have a Jewish circle, like a Jewish dedicated circle in America, and maybe that would stimulate people's relationships to their Judaism, their Jewish trauma, their Jewish joy, whatever. But let's see what happens when you create the circle. So I helped bring the first Jewish circles of ayahuasca to America.
Now they're everywhere.
What was that? Now they're everywhere. Correct. Yeah. And this is verifiable. You can ask the people in the know. This is the true story. Not that it's it would have happened anyway. It was heading in this direction. Let me just say that.
There'll be a plaque for you somewhere.
That's what I'm trying to get here.
Can we get a plaque
the
up
whole
somewhere?
purpose of coming on this podcast was this. Yes. Can you put, I want one up in here, by the way, Sonny.
Let's go.
So this is in 2019, and we did a couple rounds, and eventually I was like, I don't really love what's going on here. And there was nothing malicious or terrible, but I felt that the integration, I mean, I got pointed in the direction from someone by the name of Elias Dakwar, who's a researcher in, he researches psychedelics at Columbia. And there wasn't what I would call proper integration going on, which there still isn't. And that's sort of where I've landed with all of these things. And I know a lot of the shamans hate the word integration and are not into it. And I agree with them. Like sometimes we want to think too Western. And as I explained, even in my experience, it wasn't this direct, I came in to work with this and it worked. And it's not how these things work, I don't think, right?
How would you explain integration? And a lot of people say words like integration.
Yeah. So,
and I know you've been involved in that. We've spoken about.
So I'll say this: when you think about, let's say, something like ayahuasca is being brought from South America, from a jungle culture, right, which has all kinds of traditions. There's someone by the name of Daniel Pinchbeck who wrote a book called When Plants Dream, and he brings down all these different traditions. In some cases, only the shaman drank. In some cases, there was alcohol involved. There's all kinds of stuff that we don't hear about here. But they're in the jungle culture. You take it. It's part of the tapestry of their life, right? Even if you go for a visit, you're there for 10 days minimum, right? In the jungle, let's say. Here, you're taking it on a Thursday night, and Friday, you're right back with your family. Take it on a Saturday night, Sunday afternoon, right? If you're lucky, you'll get a day. So the first time is just having space to work through whatever happened, right? Giving space to that experience, that place. You're going on this tremendous journey, and what does the landing look like? How do you come back to your life? That's the first thing. Then also, of course,
just giving it time and space.
That's the first thing. But even that, right? But not having that, to me is we need to look at that. I don't have the answer because, I don't have an answer. It's true. This is the culture we live in. Is it better that no one should ever drink ayahuasca because they don't have that? I'm not here to answer that question. I'm just pointing out that not having that is something, right? Is an important part.
It's funny you say, because I always show it as like really funny. I mean, I haven't used it much, but I'm saying just funny that that we drive home afterwards. Just that.
Yeah.
Like, how did I go from the most profound imagine it's like this, like you're at Harsey and I getting the Torah, God just talked to you, and then you're like, thanks, carpool home? You want to go together?
And that's a great point. I know you weren't necessarily saying that. No, but look, they ended up in the desert for 40 years afterwards.
40 years.
Yeah.
That's what I call it.
That's called integration. Yes, that's called integration. Exactly. That space.
But we have in that marshal, 40 days later, they were a mess again.
Yeah, of course. Exactly. And this is but they're still they're 40 years in the desert's a mess. I'm saying it's all a mess. The integration is messy. This is not some beautiful, kumbaya. I'm saying integration is a lot of things, but certainly part of it is this. I mean, there's both pre-preparation and integration. All these things I think are not necessarily contained in a way that ultimately brings out the best of what is possible in these ways. That's one thing. The other thing that I'll contend with is that, and I brought this up before, this idea that it's the medicine. I never liked it, that term in the first place, because what do you mean the? Like, it's the medicine, we're putting it up on a pedestal. There's all kinds of medicines. There's Advil. There's alcohol is a medicine, by the way, right? There's Molly.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of medicines available to us. Ayahuasca is not the only. Now, I will say this, Baruch Thaler, who was quite prolific in these areas, was amazing to have in a ceremony, was an amazing helper. In the last 2 months, I spent a lot of time with him before he passed. He said, look, I've done this, I've done that. I've tripped for 48 hours straight at times. Okay, I've taken stuff that was, because this guy Shulgin. Are you familiar with Shulgin, by the way?
Shulgin?
Shulgin, Alexander Shulgin, basically the person who brought Molly to people. Well, I want to talk about him for a second.
48 hours of Molly?
Not on Molly. No. 48 hours. No. There was stuff. Shulgin. I'll get back to that. But he said, so Baruch said, I consider ayahuasca separate from all the other ones. So there's space like that to say that, and there's different tools needed for different things of what people are going through. And I think, unfortunately, first of all, there's this whole thing, plant medicine, right? It's natural. Natural, guess what? Flour ain't natural, by the way, right? Seriously, this is the famous story in the Gemara with right? Why do you do a bris milah? Because isn't God perfect and God created everything? Yeah, but God created so we take it and do things with. So this idea that a human touches it and becomes unnatural, right? And there's different tools.
The natural conversation has always been about like marijuana was always like, well, it's natural.
Right.
Cyanide is natural too.
Right, exactly.
You know exactly. I never got why. Nature's a pretty terrifying place.
Yes.
The green people have given it a very good name, but I'm not hung up on the natural.
No. So there's just these different things that have come in, and influenced that world.
Yeah, but does it work? That's what I'm asking.
Work for what? Tell me what you want it to work for. Let me give you an example.
All right.
Can I jump in? Unless you had something that you want to say specifically. I'll give an example and then go. Okay. I've worked with many shamans at this point, right? And I've organized ceremonies like I started. I've organized recently ceremonies, now with ayahuasca. Recently, someone that I've been working with, when I went to him and I said, "Hey, I want to work on this particular thing. I had a very particular thing I want to work on." And he said to me, "What do you want to do? Like you want to go deeper into it? Then I would use something like ayahuasca, mushrooms, something else that he works with. You want to have more compassion for this part of yourself that went through this? I would use something like MDMA or Molly or things along those lines." So does ayahuasca work? I think it depends really what.
Such a broad question.
It's a tool, right? It wasn't a great question, but I think no. But you heard like there's different tools. You want to take the screw out. You don't use a hammer, right? I'm saying like these.
I guess what I'm turning into an old man.
Yeah.
And as I turn into an old man, you're turning into an old man with me, by the way.
We're both, yes, older. Let's use older for now. How's that?
I feel old.
I
don't look old.
You don't look old. You don't look old. Yeah, right. What is this? The Farak way?
We look young.
Are you? You're not dying, right? Am I allowed to ask that on camera?
Really dying?
Yeah. No, the hair.
No, I've never dyed the hair.
Me neither. People can't believe it. They're like, "How's your beard red?" You're also like
I'm getting a little
yeah,
gray.
No, but I'm saying, but your red is different than the top of your.
Yeah.
I have the same look.
Yeah. Well, I used to be much more red when I was a kid.
Interesting. The head.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then it's more red. As I get older, I'm like going back to like very ancient, just basic stuff. Like if you're not out there working for your family, tilling the land, and then you tell me you're depressed, that makes sense. If you tell me that you're not having relationships with people and you're depressed, makes sense. If you tell me this is that you're not doing any physical activities in your entire life and you're depressed, you're not sleeping, you're looking at your phone all day, and you're depressed, it makes sense. What I'm saying is just the basic of no matter what you do for healing, if you're going to therapy, if you're going to psychedelics, if you're going to anything, and then you are not living a quality life, which I'm talking about on basic levels. I'm not talking about like they have the best marriage in the world, but they're in a marriage and they're working on it. They have kids and they're nice to them. You're going to work, you're going to work. The basic, they're taking a walk every day for 15 minutes. Like that. If you're not doing the base, to me, that's integration. That's what sounds like. It's weird is that everybody's like, I want to go on a journey and then come back to my very, very toxic life. I'm not talking about the people around you.
Yeah.
Your life is toxic. You're living in a place where things are not. So all we're living in a society where all this stuff has left.
Yes.
And I don't need to get up and have physical activity. I don't need to go sit in nature for 15 minutes a day. It's not part of my life.
Right.
In the winter, I don't even wear a coat because all I got to do is bear the cold from my house to my car and my car to my office. I don't even need to experience cold if I don't want to. Coat is for Shabbos to walk to shul. That's it. That's my whole reason. What I'm trying to say is all the stuff we're doing, if we're not living just a very basic life where things are the way they're supposed to be and you're surrounded by the right people, anything you do is going to fall short. So I see a lot of people, they're in the depths of depression, they're in the depths of, and they want to go in and get inspired by us, they will. But if in the next month you're not walking through the desert and doing the work of just life, I'm not even talking about deep integration and that stuff. So that's where I'm stuck, is that a lot of people are getting addicted to going back to re-up the inspiration. You're already inspired.
Yes. This guy that I mentioned before, so I want to talk about it from several, not straight, of course, but
you go in a million directions.
There's a guy who I mentioned earlier who I knew through this Armand work, and he now is in SVAD. He no longer does the Armand work. He's just, and I saw him recently he's doing a thing, and it says his thing is psychedelics are training wheels, right? And can we take you can use them as training wheels, but eventually you want to take them off, right? You don't want, so yes, people are going too often. There's a lot of money and power involved in that. And I love a lot of the people that serve and are wonderful people. Really, really, really. I think you and I both know some of them very well. Really, really good, solid people. And there's also other people that there's a lot of money. And so there's not this process, this idea of taking this thing from the jungle and bringing it to the Western culture has not been well thought out. It's been motivated by other motivations to some degree or another. Problem. The problem you were describing, yes, 100%. It doesn't work, right? It will not work like that. Problem I described earlier, where is the space? We need space. But I do think, particularly to what you're addressing, I think some kind of, and I've thought about it to some degree, but I'm not 100. I think to some degree, some kind of integration process where you give people the place and the space and the tools to extract something even very small, right? I'm going to take a walk for 15 minutes, right? Like, let's say in the ceremony it came up that your body's a temple. Let's say that concept came up, right? I think you can understand what I'm getting at. Body's a temple. Very abstract concept in a way, right? And it could be very grand, right? That could be a very grand concept, like, take something very small from it. My body's a temple and needs to be walked. I'm going to go walk it 15 minutes a day, right? But that happens in a process. It's too big of an experience and too all over the place of an experience and too not part of our way of life, our tapestry of life, as I said with the jungle, that we need processes in place in order to make it work in the right ways.
Right.
So it can be, it actually is not this profound, integration doesn't have, it's not one of the first trainings I took on IFS was called Psychedelic Integration in IFS, and she essentially just taught IFS, and you just apply it to psychedelic. So we're not talking about any major. There's no great chachmas they have to come up. You just have to create the container, and the proper containers, and really think these things out and do it that way. Yeah, because I think it is really important. Because otherwise, this is what happens, exactly what you're describing, and it becomes another dependence.
And then I get people like, "Oh, are you anti? Are you pro? What is it? And the truth is, I see it as everything else, which is it's an amazing tool that could be ruined and not ruined, and it should be done the best we possibly know. I have tons of stories about people going to therapy and having the exact same situation.
100%.
Where I'm like, you keep going back to therapy to get a fix from your therapist, but you're not actually making the changes. You're not integrating the therapy into your life. So it's funny that I'm talking about this because it always comes back to I don't like Rebbe-itis. Rebbe-itis is like we believe there's an answer. And that's why that question was so dumb. Like, is this the answer? None of these things are the answer. It's a tapestry of many, many, many parts that we have to put together. And we're living in a world where it's like there's something very individualistic about the Western society. So we're like in our own head.
That's the core of its philosophy. What do you mean is the great American individualism and self-made men, which is all bullshit. But this is the core of what we've been brought. And actually, sorry for interrupting, but I just think this is what if you were to ask me, and I don't know that much about America. That's the truth. I live in quite a bubble, right? I live in Brooklyn. I've been in New York most of my life. Israel. I mean, I'm around Jews mostly. But what seems that America suffers from the most is a lack of community. Is this emphasis on the individual and unfortunately is the caveat to that, and the positive spin on that is inevitably that was going to happen. You're taking people from all these different cultures and bringing them to a new place, and then inevitably it's going to strip away, right, all these things that they were used to and customs that they had. And the idea is that eventually to build a bigger and better community, right, a more open community, more inclusive community, where you're not just myopic into your own place.
Well, I don't know. It's funny because historically, we're very new to this idea that an entire country is supposed to be a community. That's a very odd thing.
No, so I don't want to say the whole, but that is the great American. If we think about it, I think if we think about it, but skipping that, even within smaller communities, there's not community. What is a secular community based on for the most part? Kids' school, right? You're based around the school. People don't go to church anymore. Like people don't go to places. I
mean, there are places in America, like in the farming cultures and stuff like that, where they really depend on each other, and it's pretty awesome. The Amish are doing a really good job in that. Think about like I'm saying, there's such a minority. I'm saying it's a tiny little group. So I'm saying
it's that particular kind of insularity that allows for that kind of community. When you open it up, it feels like community just disappears. Like there isn't community.
Right.
Like there's not community. Like what is community based on in America? What are they communing around?
And even the Jewish community, like we're killing it. We're killing it. The Orthodox Jewish community is killing by far, like right up there with the best ever. And even with that, we feel so separated. We feel so stuck in our lives, and it's really
100%.
It's scary.
Yeah, because I think you talked before about Catholicism seeping into sex and our attitude towards sex, and you have that with American individualism. It's seeped into these communal things where, right, I need the bigger house and the bigger bar mitzvah, and right, all that stuff. I mean, all that materialism, really, essentially. And this is not railing against materialism. Materialism is beautiful. It's great to have, but out of balance and out of whack and held up on a pedestal is the new. You talk about rebbishing stuff, right?
Yeah.
Money has
Rebbitis.
Yeah, money-itis, right? Money, whatever you want to call it.
It's the same. The money-itis is rebbitis.
Yeah.
I just like to call it rebbitis. Okay.
Yeah. Where were we? Can I give I did have a caveat, another one, just a little promo to Reb Zalman. One of the things that I think he was very profound and talking about this idea. We were talking about integration and working with our bodies. He had this. He said one of the things that he brought to my consciousness is this idea that instead of saying I'm going for a walk or I'm going to eat something, reframe it as a way of saying I'm taking my body for a walk. I'm feeding my body, right? Because all day we do things for ourselves that go unacknowledged, right?
Yeah.
Important things, real things that are holy, so right? They are.
Yeah.
And so reframing it in that way, there's something very profound about that. And this is part of integration. This leads into our integration.
Yeah, put this in front of your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hear it. It's such an okay. Let me ask you about your work in this therapy that you're doing. First of all, why are you drawn to like a lot of the stuff you're doing? You're very drawn to helping others. So
good question. So
why are you drawn to all that?
So when I was leaving, when I was finishing school, I graduated Hunter, 2008. I started off in community college. I came back from Israel, didn't have SATs, all that. Graduated 2008. I had my degree, my bachelor's in psychology, and my Jewish studies professor had me meet. He was friends with the head of Pace University, and the guy says to me, so I was interviewing to go to their psychology program. And he says to me, why do you want to become a therapist? Like, this was back in 2008. And I said, yeah, because I want to help people. He goes, you want to help people? Go make millions of dollars and give it out, and you'll help way more people than sitting in therapizing them. Why do you want to be a therapist? And I said, because I really enjoy it. And I really enjoy people. And I think I'm good at it. And he liked that answer.
He
He accepted that. That answer he took. So yeah, no, I think I've been encouraged by. I started therapy when I was 20. I've been in therapy pretty much my whole life. Continue to be. Is it perfect? Is it a perfect system? We all know there's many flaws, and you've brought them up, right? Some of them being that it's very individualistic. There's a price to pay, right? That a lot of people can't even afford. There's all kinds of stuff, and I have found it to be one of the most helpful tools within my life in different modalities. Like I now very much like IFS and present psychotherapy, as I mentioned to you, but there's room for CBT and psychodynamic and all kinds of things. And I found that just like we were talking about tools before within the psychedelic realm, there's different tools that people need at different points. And I think there's a lot of tools, actually, a lot of good tools that are continually being developed. And I've always liked where there's some kind of Western influence on Eastern, right? There's a mix of Western and Eastern, and that's to some degree how I see psychology. Actually, Yoni Fisher is the first person that got me into psychology, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. He told me to read, when I was 16, he told me to read Scott M. Peck's book, The Road Less Traveled.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I read it, and I was like, holy shit, there's some kind of answer to this insanity that's going on. Like, that was, right, the light bulb went on. And now we know that not necessarily, as you said before, right? No, we don't know, but certainly gave some insight into like what's going on. And yeah.
So you really, I think I'm very happy that therapy and psychology has arrived and that people are able to look inside and be able to heal with their stuff. And then I'm also very sad that we have to pay people to be there for us. And that makes me like super sad. Like I myself have I think my biggest struggle in life is I'm like waiting for a mommy or tati to come and just be like, oh, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You need someone to talk to. Come talk to me. Come talk to me every week, and we'll have I'm not saying they would have the skills of a therapist, but it makes me sad that some people I know the only time they'll ever get to really talk about what's going on is going to be in the therapist's office, and to me that makes me. I don't know why that came to me just now, but that's
there's a barrier to entry. First of all, in terms of price, right, for a lot of people, so that's a problem in and of itself, and in the plant medicine, in psychedelic realm also, right, and this has been a big conversation about like this idea that, so hold on, someone who has a lot of money all of a sudden has access, right? This is what we're talking about, and this is the healing, right, model that we're promoting.
This is what I'm dealing with in our village. I'm running this whole community here. Is that it cost me a fortune to run. And I'm passing that fortune on to the people wanting to come in, meaning you have to pay something to come in. Obviously, I'm working with everybody in their own way, but to me, I don't think it's very Jewish to charge. I want it to be free.
Agreed.
And everybody would say, well, they got to put in something. Yeah, no, they have to put in something. But and I'm agreeing with that. But, to tell someone thousands of dollars a month to heal is incredibly painful, and some people could afford it, and that's fine. But it's for everybody.
So the way that it should work, really, first of all, there should be gemachs, and I know there are some, but there should be gemachs, right, where funds are allocated towards this. On top of it,
unlimited.
On top of it, what is unlimited?
The amount of people that need help all day.
So what should happen also is that if I go to therapy and I'm paying $200 an hour, and the same guy who makes millions of dollars a year is paying $200 an hour, and we talk about this need for someone to pay because it has to be painful,
right?
But how does that align with right? So what should happen is, really what I think should happen is that the wealthier people should pay much. I know this sounds like socialism, but in this particular regard, they should pay more. It should be painful to them, just like it's painful to the other person. And that's how that would address skipping all the philosophies of democracy, and I'm saying that actually literally addresses
I'm more
it.
Socialist than you. No, I think the same way of a fire department, the Jewish community should have sober livings. Like, it's covered.
Right.
Done. Hatzalah is covered.
Right.
if
That's a great
someone
point.
is at a point in their lives where they're so damaged that they need to go live in a community to get healed again, to be held, so that they get back on their feet, well, that's Hatzalah to me. So what I'm saying is like
100%.
the same way we fund Hatzalah, the same way we fund Chaverim and Shaimerim and keep going. I love it. Federations raising hundreds of millions of dollars, like sending it over to Haiti to help people in the hurricanes. I appreciate it. But the fact is, the community should take it as responsibility. We need to heal the people that are broken. So I'm like even way more socialist than you, because I see it as a right. Like you're part of our community. You deserve that. If you get to a place like that, we heal you. That's what we do at Shiva. No one says, I'll come visit him when there's Shiva, but I'll wait until they pay me.
Right.
Everybody that comes to Shiva pays $100. Very few people at Shiva. Like I'm saying, it's like we know.
No, it's a great
that
point.
you get off your butt no matter how. Very few people want to go to a Shiva call. Very few.
Right.
And you go.
Well, if they were Shiva like yours,
right.
we
You got to tell them to have balloons outside.
Exactly.
Come on in, we're partying.
Cigars, balloons, there was all kinds of stuff.
Right, cigars were coming out. That was ridiculous.
I couldn't agree more. I wanna just say that there's in the thing of being in the spirit of being Don Lakovsky, so to speak. Like, look, think about it. When I first started going to therapy, I hid that. Right, where are you going? I'm going to play basketball. Right, like the taboo was so strong.
Right,
and that shifted, and we see the shift happening. So in the world at large, but for sure in the Jewish community, right? And so hopefully over time, I think that should be I don't see why that would not be the vision. And if it isn't, then we know that the systemic problems that lead people into therapy are just perpetuating themselves to some degree or another. Yeah. And it's sad. I think it is sad. And
listen, I don't necessarily see it as sad. I see it as I believe in the Jewish community more than I believe in anything in the world. Like the stuff they do is wild. I just think this is another thing they should do.
Yeah.
So it's not.
I'm saying it's sad that it's not happening at this point, and it would be sad if it didn't evolve into that to some degree or another.
Yeah. No, I got you.
You know what I'm saying? Not that we have to be sad about it now, but it is terrible. I think the barrier to entry is terrible.
Okay. Now we've been on for many, many hours. No, I don't know if that's true. Yes, it's one of my longest pods here. But with all your bathroom breaks, it's not.
Exactly. Exactly. By the way, if you're peeing a lot, go to the doctor.
Yeah,
if this is happening in 2 days, I'm going to the doctor, just so everyone knows.
Yeah.
Public service announcement. Yeah.
Anyway, okay, I have to ask you the rooftop question.
The penultimate question.
What's the panel?
I don't know. I have no idea.
That's so cool.
I just can't stop talking. Yeah.
I'm enjoying myself so much.
I really am. Sorry, this is great.
When was the last time we talked for 2.5 hours?
What's that?
When was the last time we talked for 2.5 hours?
Right. Seriously. Exactly.
See, this is the highest level, man.
Yeah.
People don't realize it. Okay. I'm really proud of this stuff you do and all that stuff. I had you on because you're my friend, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you. And I feel like you're a fellow traveler in this wild, wild world. So, very exciting. Anyway, that being said, final question. Always. Yeah. Well, it's not always the final question, but it is the question, is the rooftop question. You're standing on top of the rooftop. The whole world's down there, and you have to yell something to the world. What's your rooftop yell to the world?
Community. That's my yell. That's
it?
That's it. That's all I got.
Yell community.
Community.
They're going to be like, what the heck is he talking about?
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
just saying one word.
That's the point. One word.
Let them think about it.
One word.
One word community.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. That's how important it is. I mean, I think that's how important it is.
It's a really good one.
And I think we need a shift from actually quick last story. Reb Zalman, it's got it all in there.
Yeah.
I had a terrible mushroom trip at some point when I was doing them recreationally.
Okay.
Very dark mushroom trip. And the theme of the trip was everything survival of the fittest. I was just seeing survival of the fittest. I was seeing people around this pond in Central Park, and I see, they have the time lapses in movies, where people are just coming and replacing, generations of people. That's what I was seeing. And the theme in my mind was, whoa, Like what we're doing here is just survival of the fittest. We're just replacing each other. What is going on here? What's the point of it all? And then the question that came to mind was, scientifically we believe in Darwin, but in our Jewish beliefs, we're taught there's kindness and there's way more than survival of the fittest. There's so much more going on. There's God. How do you reconcile the two, right? Survival of the fittest. So I asked Reb Zalman the question, and his answer was community. Community is the place where you transcend, where we're able to transcend this individualistic survival of the fittest, maybe reality, whatever you want to call it, into something greater.
Right.
And we need it. I mean, it's just obvious how much we need it. It's obvious to me.
It's amazing how everybody's coming up with a similar idea
Of community. Well,
it's ancient.
right.
It's so ancient.
You mentioned it in terms of ceremonial work. Exactly. Like, it's not just, and I think you were mentioning more the wider circle of, I've taken ayahuasca, you've taken ayahuasca. But in the
some
ceremony.
of the best friends in your life are going to come from a ceremony. You're going to sit there, I sat with them 3 times, 5 times, we go on trips together, we're all going to, I don't know, who knows where, and we're doing it in someone's backyard there, and it becomes like, we get a WhatsApp group, a community starts.
Yes.
And I think that's the highest healing of the whole thing.
I think it's the
I also think that's the highest healing of the 12 steps.
Say more.
So, like I'm saying, I'm a big believer in the 12 steps, and there's a huge self-development part of the 12 steps, actually doing the 12 steps.
Right.
But the first 3 steps are not self-development. It's more about community. And the last one is about community. And there's an idea of fellowship where you are supposed to be together and doing this together. If I had to pick one of the aspects of the 12 steps and throw everything else out, it would be the community aspect. Meaning that is the most powerful aspect of the whole thing. And people could argue with me because some of the steps are really complicated, and you got to apologize, and you got to go through you got to go through everything, all your resentments, and it's really hard. But what's really doing the healing, I believe, is the community.
100%. And I will say, community is made up of individuals, right? So the more that the individual can also work on themselves without losing sight of the community is also, right? Meaning, I think the world used to be communal, all community.
Yeah.
That's all it was. And we know what happened from that, right? Then there's too much influence from the community in a certain sense. So the balance came into this very individualistic, right, American culture. It's not bad. It was. I
don't want to get rid of that.
It was in a response, right, to something that was out of whack, out of balance. And the response was to balance it out. So
it wasn't just out of balance. No, they didn't have the opportunity to be individualistic.
Right.
Until the Industrial Revolution, you needed everybody.
Right.
All the time.
Nice.
So there wasn't, I don't even know if it was a full response or just the fact is everybody always has a desire to be individualistic.
Right.
And they didn't have a choice.
Right.
Now, it's like I could live my entire life and never see another person ever and live a fine life. I could Uber Eats whatever I want. I could watch shows. I could read books. I could do whatever I want without ever encountering another being. And even people who are encountering, it's like, hi, how you doing? And then we'll move on. We're not really deeply connecting and needing each other. So I do believe there was some issues with just community, but I think it's like when the ghetto walls were open for the Jews in Germany, and you said, okay, now you could go and actually start learning about philosophy and this kind of thing. Everybody ran out. They're like, what is it? So that's kind of what happened with community. It's like we all feel stuffed in and stifled by our family. Can you imagine getting your whole family together and living in the same place?
Right. It's great. It's crazy.
The horrors.
Yeah, the horrors. But then again, we're missing, again, Reb Zalman, we're missing this place where the grandparents used to be. He talks about power dynamics, right? Now you have a parent and a child living in a house, right? Think about that power dynamic. It's insane. It's literally insane.
Yeah.
But what used to happen is there was a grandparent, and the grandparent would, to some degree, mitigate that power, right? The parent had to answer to the grandparent. There was a lineage, things, and we lost that. We've lost all that in this, and agreed. But thinking about having to live that way we don't have quite the answers, but we're learning. We are learning, I think, that how important both are, right? I think both are. I think being able to be an individual within community or vice versa, or whatever it is, however you want to think about it. But I think they're both important.
Yeah. Okay, I love you, man. Thanks for coming in.
I love you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for. Was it? Yeah, we did good.
Amazing.
Thank you for this day that I've been given. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this chance. Thank you for this chance to live anew.